Chapter 125. She had never accepted any favors from the Su family. Why would she sacrifice herself for a family she did not even know? Su Rong completely gave up on trying to convince Xian'er. Her expression turned cold. I'll ask you one last time. Are you going to marry him or not? No, I won't marry even if I die. Xian'er was resolute. Su Rong's killing intent flared. Fine. If you don't marry, I'll kill Su Yu right now. To tell you the truth, he's in the outer sanctum. Brother Su Yu is here. Xian'er's face lit up. However, Su Rong's murderous aura caused Xian'er's heart to sink. Grandma, don't kill Brother Su Yu. Xian'er panicked, grabbing Su Rong's arm. Su Rong looked back. Then let me ask you, are you going to marry him or not? Xian'er bit her lips, her eyes filled with tears. She was hesitant. Oof. Grandma is going to kill Su Yu right now. I'll give up on you completely. Su Rong swung her arm. No, I won't kill him. I'll marry him. The bottom line she had held on to for so long finally crumbled. She could die of thirst or hunger, but she could not watch Su Yu die. Large teardrops rolled down her cheeks, dripping on her arms. From gentle to cold, just like Xian'er's heart. She raised her eyes, staring at the old woman in front of her. She had called herself her grandma, but she had never felt any kinship from her. More than that, she had felt the coldness of a commodity in this old woman's eyes. Blood ties. If there was no long-term company, how could there be kinship? I promise you, I'll marry him, but I hate you, Xian'er cried. But this was the first time the word hate had come out of her mouth. Su Rong's heart trembled. Looking at Xian'er's hatred, she felt a tinge of regret. Had she gone too far? If Xian'er hated the Su family in the future, wouldn't she lose more than she gained? But now that things had come to this, there was no time for regret. Furthermore, Xian'er was still young. When she grew up, she would understand the difficulties of the world. Perhaps she should be grateful. Grandma is doing this for your own good, Su Rong repeated, trying to ease the rift. However, Xian'er's teary eyes were filled with hatred. She clenched her fists tightly and coldly interrupted. You're not my grandmother. Su Rong was slightly stunned. She knew that the last trace of kinship between her and Qin Xian'er was gone. Take care of yourself. If you dare to commit suicide or escape, I will kill Su Yu immediately. With a light grunt, Su Rong left with her hands behind her back. Creak. The door was closed again, and Xian was put under house arrest again. Trapped in loneliness, she could no longer pretend to be strong. Squatting down, she hugged her knees and sobbed. Tears dripped onto the floor, moist like blooming flowers. Brother Su Yu, I'm sorry. I can't be your bride. Xian'er's lonely and sad sobs reverberated in the empty house. The two maids outside the door showed sympathy on their faces. The Su family is really heartless in order to curry favor with Chao Xian. However, compared to Su Yu, Chao Xian is more suitable for Qin Xian'er. One day, she might be grateful to the Su family for being heartless. 2 days later, the fallen star where the 10th elder was staying was decorated with lanterns and colored banners. Everyone in the Lucian faction knew that today was the wedding of the 10th elder's last disciple, Chao Xian. Chao Xian had invited all the disciples from the inner sanctum that he was on good terms with. Master Han Ji, the Grand Master, the Great Elder, and the other 7 elders all congratulated him. Even though the 9 elders were competing with each other openly and covertly, they were still amiable on the surface, not shedding all pretense of cordiality. Thus, they did not have to attend Chao Xian's wedding. However, if they did not attend, it would hurt their relationship. Thus, they all came to support him. Only 1 elder was invited, but did not attend. That was the ugly 2nd elder. The 2nd elder was perverse and temperamental. No one could be on good terms with her. She was so powerful that she was ranked 3rd in the faction, just below the faction master and the great elder. Everyone wanted to befriend her. However, her temperament was strange, and those who tried to befriend her were rebuffed. There were even a few who, for some unknown reason, were almost beaten to death. Over time, the people of the Lucian faction kept a respectful distance from her. In the eyes of many disciples, the 2nd elder was the existence that no one dared to provoke. She was temperamental and often attacked disciples. Coupled with her powerful abilities, no one dared to seek revenge if they were bullied. Now, it was completely reasonable that she did not attend despite being invited. Many of the elders even heaved a sigh of relief. Chao Xian wore a fiery red robe. He was in high spirits and full of smiles as he entertained the guests. Congratulations, Senior Chao, for winning a beauty. Yuan, whose injuries had recovered, his fat face filled with a fawning expression. Chao Xian smiled and returned the greeting. Junior Yuan, don't be anxious. When you become an adult, I will introduce you to a few outstanding female disciples of the faction. Yuan, who laughed. Sister-in-law has the bloodline of the 9 phoenixes. Her potential is shocking, and she is as beautiful as a fairy. Junior, how can you enjoy the blessings of a senior? In his heart, Yuan, who was carefree. Su Yu. So what if you are strong? After you die, your women will become my senior's objects. At this moment, Sun Tianyong walked over. His sinister face revealed a rare smile. Congratulations on your wedding, Junior Chao. Greetings, Uncle Master Sunday. Chao Xian's seniority was lower than Sun Tianyong's, so he naturally had to call him Uncle Master. But there was no due respect. After all, Chao Xian's abilities were clear for all to see. How are your injuries? Chao Xian smiled with concern. Sun Tianyong's expression froze. He nodded coldly. My injuries have recovered. I have to thank Su Yu. Because of his battle, I had a breakthrough and was on the verge of becoming a 3rd-level Holy King. If I were to fight him again, I would definitely defeat him in one move. Being defeated by Su Yu was a humiliation that Sun Tianyong could not forget. Unfortunately, Su Yu was already dead. He had lost the chance to avenge himself. The elders quietly sipped their tea. Their eyes inadvertently swept past the 3 disciples. There was a strange look in their eyes. Among the faction's 4 core disciples, the Great Elder and the 10th Elder occupied 2 of them. One was Chao Xian, and the other was the Great Elder's disciple. They were currently in seclusion. Among the new generation of disciples, there were people with extraordinary talents like Sun Tianyong and Yuan Hu. The elders could not help but be envious. But what made them feel indignant was that the 2 of them had ignored the faction's rules because of their power. According to the rules, the elders of the faction could only take in 2 disciples, one old and one new. The goal was to prevent the elders from viciously competing for disciples. After the competition, there would be too many disciples to take care of, resulting in a waste of talent. But Han Ji, who already had Chao Xian and Yuan Hu, wanted to marry Qin Xiener to become his disciple. On the surface, Qin Xiener was not Han Ji's disciple, but Chao Xian's wife. But in reality, she was someone that Han Ji was grooming as a disciple. Once she became Chao Xian's wife, it would be inconvenient for the other elders to take Qin Xiener as a disciple. She would become Han Ji's. One had to know that Qin Xiener had the rare medium gray dark class constitution. Such potential was rarely seen in history. For example, Chao Xian had the medium gray dark class constitution. Now that he had reached the Dragon Realm, he would definitely become an elder of the faction in a few decades. If nothing unexpected happened to Qin Xiener, she would also become an elder of the faction in the future. A faction groomed 2 generations of elders. Including the Great Elder, the teacher and the disciple would control 4 seats for the faction's elders. At that time, even the faction master might not be able to hold his position. But now, Han Ji had taken over 3 disciples. This caused many elders to feel indignant. However, the Great Elder was powerful. If he joined forces with Han Ji, ordinary elders might not dare to go against him. As for the faction master, his abilities were comparable to the Great Elder's. If there was no need, he would not fall out with him. This was a secret of the Lucian faction. Many elders were worried that there would be a change in the Lucian faction soon. As for going against the 2 of them, it was not that no elder had tried. There was once an elder of the faction who went against the 2 of them. In the end, he died suddenly. Han Ji smiled and sat on the seats for the elders. He was already over 100 years old, but he looked like he was only 40 years old. He was handsome and had a square face. Beside him was Shi Rulin. She sat quietly, watching the wedding ceremony. Behind her was the deputy clan master of the External Affairs Division, Gang. "The time has come. Invite the bride into the hall," the MC shouted. Among the crowd of flower maidens was a petite figure. She wore a golden phoenix crown and a dragon and phoenix embroidered robe. Her handsome face was like that of a wild elf. She was beautiful and bright. She wore light makeup and was lovely. Only her bright eyes were glistening with tears, and they were dim and lifeless. Su Rong had a smile on her face, but she threatened coldly. "Remember my words. If you dare to ruin the wedding, I will take Su Yu's life immediately. Stop crying. Smile." Her eyes were swollen, but Sienna tried her best to squeeze out a smile. It was stiff and lifeless. It did not seem like a smile, but more like a cry. Many elders noticed this scene. They knew that Qin Sienna was being forced. But even if they knew this, they could not argue. "I hate you. I will hate you forever," Qin Sienna calmly said. Su Rong let out a cold grunt. "One day you will thank me. Go in. After the ceremony, you will be Chao Xian's bride. From then on, you will have nothing to do with Su Yu." Stepping into the hall, Sienna's beautiful face shocked everyone. She had such an aura at the age of 14. When she grew up, she would definitely be a beauty that could topple cities and countries. Chao Xian's eyes were burning. Even though he had been ordered to take Sienna as his wife, it was only a temporary measure. If he could obtain such a beautiful wife, such a wonderful thing would be hard to come by. Yuan was envious. Many of the youths who had come with their elders were also conquered by Sienna's beauty. Unfortunately, she was wearing a wedding dress and was about to become Chao Xian's wife. In his heart, he felt a sense of regret. The joyous music traveled from the inner sanctum to the outer sanctum. Above the cold star, inside the arena, two disciples were doing their daily cleaning. Hearing the joyous music, they could not help but look over with envy. Is there anyone getting married in the inner sanctum? For it to be so grand, it must be extraordinary. Crack! Suddenly, just as the two of them were cleaning the central ring, a cracking sound of ice came from the bottom of the ring beneath their feet. The icy azure lake was sealed beneath the arena. 3 days ago, after Su Yu's heaven-defying battle, the lake had been sealed again. The sudden noise caused the expressions of the two to change. They hurriedly left the arena, perking up their ears to listen. Crack, crack, crack. It sounded like a thunderstorm in summer, incessantly ringing in their ears. Not good. "There's a situation in the icy azure lake," quickly informed the External Affairs Division. Creak, rumble, but they did not have the time to report it. In the icy azure lake, there was a deafening sound of impact. Rumble, with a deafening roar, 100-meter-tall ice mountain appeared out of thin air beneath the arena, shattering the sealed arena. The dark green ice emitted a shocking chill, as if it wanted to pierce through the arena of 10,000 people. It was covered in frost, descending upon the world. The entire icy azure lake was destroyed by the terrifying ice mountain. What is that?" A disciple was shocked, trembling as he pointed at the peak of the 100-meter-tall ice mountain. There was an ice sculpture of a purple-robed, silver-haired youth standing at the peak of the mountain. Under the sunlight, the ice sculpture was ravaged, reflecting a rainbow glow. His facial features and figure were lifelike. "It's the king of the fallen star, Su Yu." His corpse was sent out by the ice mountain. Crack, but at that moment, with a crisp sound, the ice sculpture shattered, turning into countless ice shards that flew into the sky. The figure of the youth was unsealed from the ice. A pair of tightly shut eyes slowly opened at that moment. The left eye was purple, the right eye was red. It was as if the mysterious eyes of a king stood at the peak of the ice mountain, overlooking the vast earth. The two disciples were swept by the gaze. Puff! One of the first-level holy kings vomited blood on the spot, kneeling on the ground. That gaze seemed to be able to extinguish his life force. What kind of terrifying gaze was that? Was it a deity? The purple and red eyes were ethereal and distant, looking at the inner sanctum, the festive grounds decorated with lanterns and colored banners. "Sienna, A low sigh reverberated throughout the peak of the ice mountain, throughout the arena, and throughout the vast nine heavens. With just a sigh, the entire world cooled down. It was as if that sigh had come from an ancient king of ice and snow. Crack! The two first-level holy kings heard the sigh, their bodies shivering. A thin layer of ice covered the bodies of the two, causing them to be inconsolably horrified. A sigh had caused them to freeze? Fear, awe, agitation, and excitement filled their hearts. They realized one thing. Suyu had finally returned. Just as he had said that day when he fell into the icy lake, he would eventually return. He had defied the natural order and returned once again. The two of them trembled with excitement looking up, but they discovered that the peak of the ice mountain was empty. The silver-haired, purple-robed king with purple and red eyes had long disappeared. Chapter 126. The wedding ceremony was still going on. The master of ceremonies sang loudly, and the guests were joyous. Amidst the laughter, no one paid attention to Siener's misery. In Su Rong's eyes, she was just a tool for her family to curry favor with the rich. In Han Ji's eyes, she was just an artistic sculpture that was about to become his. In Chao Xian's eyes, she was just a conquered object that was about to become his to satisfy his sense of accomplishment. In the eyes of the guests, she was just a puppet that had nothing to do with them. Even though they knew that Siener was being threatened, they were still indifferent. Clenching her fists, Siener felt lonely and bitter. In this world, the only person who cared about her was Suyu. But now, Suyu's life was in Su Rong's hands, and she needed to compromise and protect him. Although the world was vast, no one could help her. At this moment, the complicated ceremony was completed, and it was finally the final moment. The master of ceremonies sang loudly, "Bow to heaven and earth." Siener's heart trembled, her eyes filled with tears. She was going to get married, but not to Brother Suyu. Under Su Rong's cold stare, Siener's body trembled, and she slowly bent down, bowing to heaven and earth along with Chao Xian. Crack! The sound of ice freezing could suddenly be heard. Astonishment flashed across everyone's faces. Crack, 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 but immediately after, the sound of ice swept over like a wave. What is this? It's so cold. A few disciples who had come with their elders could not help but gasp. The crowd realized that the air they breathed had turned into a white mist. It was summer, but the temperature was as cold as winter. "Look outside," someone exclaimed. The crowd looked over, their pupils dilating. Outside the house, an overwhelming white fog had appeared out of nowhere. The mist was cold, penetrating one's soul. The cold mist connected heaven and earth, drowning out everything in the distance. Moreover, it rolled rapidly, as if it could swallow the heavens and the earth. Looking from afar, it was as if a tsunami was crashing down on them. What was even more shocking was that everything in the distance had been frozen into ice sculptures. The tender and beautiful flowers swayed in the breeze, but in an instant, they were frozen into ice sculptures, sparkling and translucent, frozen in their most beautiful state. The small grass on the side of the road stood alone. Invisible cold air surged over, plating its body with silver crystals. Under the sunlight, it reflected a dazzling light. The lush, ancient tree was overflowing with green. In the cold air, the roots, the tree trunk, and even the leaves were all frozen into ice. Several grasshoppers were happily jumping in the grass. Cold air assaulted them, and in midair, they froze into ice with a kacha sound. With a ding-dong sound, they fell into the similarly frozen grass. In the blink of an eye from far to near, the earth, the sky, the insects, the fish, the birds, the beasts, the flowers, the trees, everything was frozen. As far as the eye could see, there was only icicles left in the world. It was like a magnificent world of ice and snow, wrapped in silver and white like a dream. It was breathtaking. The world of ice and snow continued to spread. The red lanterns hanging high in the courtyard suddenly froze into ice. Unable to bear the burden, it fell to the ground and shattered into countless ice shards. The fiery red banners were also buried in the pale white world of ice and snow. The sounds of the flutes and suona gradually stopped. As the world of ice and snow devoured the joyous atmosphere, it fell into eternal silence. The fiery red color was replaced by ice and snow, until outside the house, the cold mist stopped rolling and stopped outside the courtyard. Icicles also stopped moving forward and stopped in front of the house. Everything stopped, but it made everyone feel even more depressed. It was like the calm before the storm. Inside the house, there was a deathly silence. Everyone stared at this jaw-dropping scene. Katja, the sound of ice freezing constantly, sounded from the depths of the cold mist. A solid carpet of ice was laid out from the cold mist. Through the courtyard, through the world of ice and snow, it came to the front of the house. It was like they were welcoming the arrival of a monarch. Sha-sha. The sound of footsteps seemed to step on everyone's hearts, extremely rhythmic. But it was also incomparably cold. Every time the sound of footsteps sounded, the cold air would become colder. Everyone stared, their hearts beating slightly. They could feel the arrival of a monarch of ice and snow, until a ball of cold mist surged, and a graceful purple figure, draped in the mist, lightly stepped out. Light and fluttering purple clothes, indescribably noble. Wild fluttering silver hair, mysterious and noble. Dark purple left eye, wine red right eye. His eyes were different from a human's, mysterious and unpredictable. The pure white cold mist made it seem like a paradise on earth. Suyu, with his inhuman aura, looked like a divine king who could control ice. Suyu, staring at the person who had appeared, countless shocked voices rang out. Su Rong's old face was filled with shock. Yuan Hu screamed as if he had seen a ghost. Sun Tianyang could not believe it, losing his voice. Chao Xian's pupils shrank, letting out a cry of surprise. He had clearly fallen into the icy azure lake, his body long gone. Why did it seem like a monarch had descended? Why was he still alive? What had happened to him? Sienna was stunned for a long time. She had been separated from Su Yu for too long. She had dreamed of him a few times, missing him deeply, her tears soaking her pillow. The person in her heart had appeared at the most helpless, lonely, and miserable moment of her life, just like the battle at the Xinyu prefecture. His eyes had changed, his aura had changed, but Su Yu's soul was still the only person in her heart. Tears fell silently, and Sienna let out a long-lost smile. Thud, thud, thud. Countless years of separation, long-suppressed yearning. At this moment, it was like a volcano erupting. The fiery red petite figure was like a ball of flame, flying into Su Yu's embrace. Brother Su Yu, tears of joy, a cry of excitement, grief, and grievance shook the hearts of everyone. Even though the world was cold, only Su Yu's embrace was as warm as spring. Su Yu's heart trembled, his purplish red eyes glistening. He stretched out his trembling palm, gently holding on his Sienna's waist. Finally, he could embrace her once again after parting ways at the Xinyu prefecture. The unease in his heart for a long time had finally been redeemed. He finally hugged Sienna in his embrace. Sienna, Su Yu's voice trembled. In one breath, the surrounding ice went berserk, causing countless low-level disciples to freeze. Only Sienna was unaffected. In the world of ice, wrapped in silver, under countless gazes, Su Yu and Sienna were reunited, embracing to their heart's content. The crowd slowly regained their senses. This purple-robed, silver-haired youth with strange eyes was like a king descending, just to welcome Chao Xian and Qin Sienna. Many of the elders had a strange look in their eyes, their mouths revealing an unfathomable playful expression. Some even revealed a bit of anticipation. Han Jigua's thick black eyebrows gradually creased, his expression turning gloomy. Such a solemn wedding, yet someone was disrupting it. Looking at the situation, it was bride kidnapping. He calmly glanced at Chao Xian, his gaze cold. With so many elders present, it was naturally inconvenient for him to make a move. Chao Xian's expression was equally ugly, dark and gloomy. Bride kidnapping in front of everyone. How could he, Chao Xian, face in the future? He fiercely glared at Su Rong. If she had ended the marriage between Su Yu and Qin Sienna earlier, would things have turned out this way? Even if the wedding were to be carried out again today, it would leave a knot in her heart for life. Su Rong was shocked for a long time. Su Yu had clearly fallen into the icy azure lake, yet he was still alive. What shocked her even more was that he had kidnapped her in front of everyone. Feeling Chao Xian's cold gaze, Su Rong's body trembled, her heart burning with anger. Su Yu had harmed her greatly. Su Yu, I have already given you a chance to live without purpose. Now, you're still pestering Sienna. This time, I will not forgive you. Su Rong's face was filled with anger. She had heard that Su Yu was extremely powerful, having defeated Sun Tianyang. But Su Rong had trained for many years and had a legacy-level cultivation technique. Sun Tianyang could not compare to her. It was enough to kill Su Yu. Grandma, no. I will marry. Please don't kill Brother Su Yu. Sienna was panicking, struggling to break free from Su Yu's embrace, her eyes misty. Was she really being forced? Su Yu grabbed Sienna's waist, pulling her into his embrace, not letting her go. His purple and red eyes stared coldly at Su Rong. Kid, give me your life. Su Rong attacked furiously, her killing intent evident. If she had known this would happen, she would have killed Su Yu, even if it meant falling out with Li Guang. Bone-breaking finger. Su Rong's attack was ruthless, just like the battle at Fenghuang Valley, wanting to kill him as soon as possible. Many of the younger disciples were warned by their elders not to attack, to wait and see. Seeing Su Rong's ruthlessness, they could not help but worry for Su Yu. Even if Su Yu had the ability to defeat Sun Tianyang, it would be difficult for him to last more than 10 moves against someone of the same cultivation level. But the next moment, cries of shock came from the mouths of the younger disciples. Facing Su Rong's ruthlessness, Su Yu's expression was calm as he took a step forward. But this step was filled with a terrifying chill. Su Rong turned into an ice sculpture. She was still in the middle of running when her body was suddenly enveloped by an extreme chill, turning into an ice statue. Due to the inertia, she fell to the ground, rolling to Su Yu's feet. His face still retained the viciousness, hatred, and viciousness from before. Su Yu lowered his head, calmly looking over, the tip of his foot lightly stepping on her old head. Crack! The ice on her head suddenly disappeared, and what replaced it were her footprints. Awakening from her frozen state, Su Rong's killing intent was replaced by fear and coldness. She had been frozen with just one foot. At this moment, she was being stepped on by Su Yu. The killing intent in his heart was instantly smashed into pieces by the absolute strength that had reversed. Su Yu was no longer the junior that she could casually kill. He was now a terrifying fighter that could decide her life and death with just one foot. The stark contrast between before and after caused a mental shock, causing Su Rong's heart to tremble. Do you want to kill me? I am Sienna's grandmother. You better consider Sienna's feelings. Su Rong felt death approaching, her heart thumping wildly as she spoke with a trembling voice. Her old eyes turned, trying to seek Sienna's help. But Su Yu's foot was calmly stepping on her head, making it difficult for her to move, unable to meet Sienna's gaze. Unrepentant, hearing that Su Rong still wanted to use Sienna's feelings, Su Yu's eyes turned cold, his foot exerting force. He sighed coldly. The first time you manipulated Sienna's marriage, you should have been prepared for death. But you have challenged our bottom line time and time again. You deserve to die. At this moment of life and death, Su Rong was filled with regret. If she had known that Su Yu could grow to such an extent, she would not have forced Sienna. She would not have used Su Yu's death to threaten her. Brother Su Yu, I think, forget it, Sienna is fine. Qin Sienna was kind. Even though Su Rong had caused her to suffer, even though she had hated her so much, she could not bear to kill her. Su Rong was overjoyed. Her old face was filled with the joy of surviving a calamity. Luckily, Qin Sienna was still young and innocent, unable to bear to kill her. It looked like her plan was correct. No matter how much Sienna hated her, she was still her granddaughter. Using her name, she would be able to control her sooner or later. Chapter 127. Sienna, do you want me or her? Suyu asked calmly. If Suyu could step on Su Rong today, he might be able to let her go. But when Su Rong had the chance to step on him in the future, would she let him go like she did today? Including today, Su Rong had tried to kill Suyu 3 times. The first time, when he had just entered Fengwang Valley, he had tried to force him to break off the engagement, but failed. He had attacked him in front of everyone and was stopped by Li Guang. The second time, during the battle in the Forbidden Land, he was forced to give up on killing Lu Guang, but he was unable to do so. He attacked ruthlessly, but was stopped by Li Guang. The third time, which was today, he thought that he could still control Su Yu's life and death, and wanted to kill him in front of everyone. Every time, Su Rong had never felt pity for him. In the future, there would be none. If he let her go today, she would gather her family's influence, and one day, she would step on Su Yu's head. At that time, Su Yu would die. Hence, Sienna had to choose either Su Rong or Su Yu. Sienna was silent, and after hesitating for a moment, she buried her head in Su Yu's chest. She closed her eyes and said softly, "Brother Su Yu alone is enough for Sienna's world." Su Yu nodded, coldly looking at Su Rong, lightly sighing. "For Sienna, it would be better for you to die than to live." "No," Su Rong screamed in terror, but it was like a zither with a broken string. His head was completely frozen into ice. With a tap of Su Yu's toes, his whole body turned into pieces of ice and drifted away in the starry sky. "Let's leave the Lucian faction and travel the world." Su Yu hugged Sienna and turned to leave. Sienna's curved eyelashes fluttered, and 2 happy dimples appeared on her little face. "Okay, I will never be separated from Brother Su Yu again." Looking at the back view of the 2 walking hand in hand on the snow, the crowd came back to their senses. From a moment Su Yu attacked to the moment he killed the man, it seemed like a long time had passed, but in fact, it had happened in an instant. No one had the time to make a move, nor had they expected that someone would actually dare to kill someone in front of the higher-ups of the sect. "Stop right there. Su Yu, you ruined junior nephew Chao Xian's wedding, and you still want to leave?" Shua, Sun Tianyang, caught up with him, his expression sinister. Yuan Hu, who was at the side, also ran over angrily and blocked Su Yu. Snatching Chao Xian's bride in front of everyone was simply going too far. Su Yu's eyes were filled with coldness. "Move aside. Today, I only want to take Sienna away. I don't want to kill anymore." Sun Tianyang's eyes were filled with fighting spirit. "Do you know that your death in the icy jade pond is my lifelong regret? Because there was no chance for him to wash away his shame. I didn't expect that not only are you still alive, but you're also walking in front of me. Let us fight again for my glory, for my past humiliation." Sun Tianyang roared. Golden body, 9 transformations. With a furious roar, Sun Tianyang instantly transformed into a bronze-skinned man. His entire body exuded a powerful aura of blood and qi, giving off a strong sense of oppression. After the Battle of the Fallen Star, his strength had increased tremendously. "Thanks to you, I've finally reached the small success stage of the legacy cultivation technique." Kneel. Boom. An extremely powerful punch came crashing down. The wind generated by the fist spread in all directions, stirring up the cold fog and blowing at Su Yu's silver hair. Yuan Hu also saw the timing and attacked from another angle. His eyes were cold as he said, "I also want to see how long you can be arrogant for." One was a 2nd-level lower tier Holy King, while the other was a 2nd-level peak Holy King. Under a pincer attack, who would dare underestimate Sun Tianyang? Only Su Yu stood at his original position, allowing the wind to blow at his purple robe and silver hair. His godlike eyes were calm and tranquil. Only when the attacks of the 2 of them were within 3 meters of him did Su Yu finally extend a palm. He extended his palm and gently clenched it into the air. Crack! The cold energy in the icy world seemed to have heard the call of a monarch. With a gentle clench of his palm, the cold energy gathered. Ah! Sun Tianyang and Yuan, who let out a pathetic cry at the same time. Their bodies were covered in icicles, from their skin to their flesh, from their flesh to their organs. In the blink of an eye, The two of them had turned into ice sculptures, maintaining their attacking stance, completely frozen in the icy world. Sun Tianyang's eyeballs trembled, showing the boundless fear in his heart. To think that Su Yu could destroy him with a single palm. Su Yu shook his head slightly. Just SOSO. After saying this, Su Yu lightly struck with his palm, intending to turn Sun Tianyang into ice on the spot and kill him completely. How dare you? A thunderous roar came from outside the yard, not from the elders' seats. Rumble, a man in black armor, descended from the sky, his face filled with anger. He grabbed Sun Tianyang and Yuan Hu away in time, avoiding Su Yu's killing move. Looking over, it was the guard of the metal bridge, the black armor guard. His abilities had reached the terrifying third-level lower tier, Holy King. Previously, he had blocked Su Yu outside the metal bridge, causing Su Yu to vomit blood and retreat with one palm. Just now, Su Yu had crossed the metal bridge as fast as a shadow. He had not been able to stop him in time and had chased him all the way here. His face was filled with rage. The black-armored guard finally saw Su Yu's true appearance and had a vague impression of him. He could not help but scold angrily. So it's you, ignorant disciple from outside the sanctum. A lowly scoundrel, cultivating a strange movement technique, tried to escape into the sanctum to cause trouble. It was his duty to guard the metal bridge and not allow anyone from outside the sanctum to pass. Not only did Su Yu escape, he had also caused trouble at the wedding attended by the elders. If he did not kill Su Yu to make up for his mistake, he would definitely be punished. Su Yu calmly retracted his palm, then looked back and said indifferently, "You escaped here? I'm not escaping. I just don't want to fight you." "Oomph. Of course you don't want to fight me. Otherwise, do you think you have the right to escape into the sanctum inner sanctum? Kneel and surrender immediately." The black-armored guard angrily scolded as he strode forward. Just like before, he had forced Su Yu to retreat with one palm and looked down on him. Su Yu's expression was indifferent as he lightly shook his head. "You're wrong. I don't want to fight you because I don't want to give me a reason to kill you." Xiener's forced marriage was imminent. If she encountered the black-armored guard, it would be difficult for Su Yu to kill her. The black-armored guard froze for a moment, then laughed angrily. 5 days ago, the scoundrel who spat blood and retreated with one punch from me is now extremely arrogant. You don't want to fight me because I don't want to give you a reason to kill me. Su Yu shook his head, ignoring the description. He hugged Xiener and walked out of the courtyard. Being ignored, the black-armored guard's expression turned vicious. He clenched his teeth and shouted, "Scoundrel! Kneel! Mountain suppression, 5 seals." The black-armored guard let out a low growl. His palm was surrounded by the terrifying vital energy of a third-level Holy King. His palm was like a palm that could suppress mountains and rivers. Cold air flowed, waves of energy like the sea. The wind howled, as if it was destroying everything in its path. It was terrifying. Sun Tianyang, who had just been freed from the ice, was blown away by the strong wind and crashed into the corner of the courtyard. He grunted and spat out a mouthful of blood. Is this the power of a third-level Holy King? It has completely surpassed the level of a second-level Holy King. Sun Tianyang's eyes were filled with deep shock. A sense of absolute oppression and powerlessness made Sun Tianyang unable to muster any will to resist. A third-level Holy King was unimaginably powerful. Rumble, a third-level, first-level Holy King violently struck Su Yu's head. "Kneel. Accept punishment." With a low growl, the black-armored guard's eyes were filled with contempt. However, Su Yu's gaze was still calm. He calmly extended a finger. "Destroy." With a low growl, cold air surged and condensed into a finger. Creak! The violent collision that they had imagined did not occur. Instead, a pathetic howl could be heard. Everyone looked over and sucked in a breath of cold air. The black-armored guard, a third-level Holy King, spat out blood and was sent flying. One finger had suppressed a third-level Holy King. Just one finger. Su Yu had returned from the icy azure lake. Just how terrifying had his abilities become? Sun Tianyong's breathing quickened, his eyes wide open. He could not believe the scene before him. It was as if something was stuck in his throat. For a moment, he could not speak. He's already this strong? In an instant, a numbing feeling welled up in his heart. It was as if he was facing his senior, making him feel powerless. A few elders who were watching the show raised their eyebrows, their expressions grave. They exchanged glances, trying to find out Su Yu's background. Su Yu's Battle of the Fallen Star had spread throughout the outer sanctum. However, in the eyes of the elusive elders, the Fallen Star contest was unbearable. Hence, they did not know of Su Yu's existence. In fact, most of the inner sanctum disciples did not care about the Fallen Star contest. They did not know of the situation, much less Su Yu's existence. This person is an outer sanctum disciple, defeating the newly promoted heaven's favorites Sun Tianyong and Yuan, who is one thing. But he even easily defeated a third-level lower-tier holy king. This person's talent is so strong, it can be said to be terrifying. I can't believe I misjudged him. A few elders' eyes glowed with excitement. Sun Tianyong and Yuan, who, with their talent, had become the most popular heaven's favorites in the faction. What more Su Yu, who had defeated them? However, the elders' gazes gradually calmed down. When they glanced at Han Ji, a shred of regret and helplessness appeared in their eyes. His talent was extraordinary, but unfortunately, he would not live past today. Kidnapping the bride was destined for Su Yu's death. Su Yu calmly looked at the black-armored guard, who was sent flying and vomiting blood. His mouth was full of blood, his pupils dilated and filled with fear. He had been seriously injured by a finger. Was this still the junior that he had injured with a single punch that day? Retracting his finger, Su Yu calmly shook his head. Much weaker than I imagined. The black-armored guard's face turned red, but he could not find any words to refute. Holding on his siener, Su Yu continued to walk out. His lips were filled with satisfaction, relief, and sorrow. He lightly sighed. Siener, to be able to see you once, I have no more regrets in this life. Kidnapping Siener in front of the higher-ups of the faction. How could Su Yu not know that this was a path to certain death? When he decided to kidnap the bride, he knew that he would have to part ways with Siener forever. He would die at the hands of Chao Xian, the 10th elder and the great elder. Siener would still be forced to marry Chao Xian. This was a predestined outcome. In the face of absolute power, Su Yu was but a weak ant. He could not change this predestined outcome. The only thing he could do was to see Siener one last time before he died. To tell her that he, Su Yu, had come. To tell her that he, Su Yu, still loved her. To tell her that he, Su Yu, would die with a bang and not disappear without a trace. Even though he knew he was going to die, Su Yu still came. This was because he could not bear to see his fiancée, the petite figure that he had sworn to protect for the rest of his life, the figure that he could never erase from his heart, marry someone else. Thus, even if he died, he wanted to see Siener one last time before he died. This was his last wish in life. Feeling the sorrow in his voice, the young Siener seemed to understand something. The pain of being separated forever, of losing something, was transmitted to her soul. Brother Su Yu, don't go. Siener suddenly hugged Su Yu's neck, sobbing. Silent sorrow flowed through her heart. The heart-wrenching sense of loss filled her young soul. Su Yu lovingly bent down, kissing her forehead. I have no more regrets. Next, Siener, please open your eyes. Brother Su Yu, I will fight for you one last time. Su Yu lifted his head, his purple-red eyes releasing an unprecedented cold glow. He looked behind them, at the figure that had appeared out of nowhere. Festive red makeup, ordinary looks, gloomy face, cold eyes. Chao Xian had arrived behind them, his hands behind his back, his eyes cold and disdainful. Even though he did not say anything, everyone could feel the killing intent that was like a volcano about to erupt. Su Yu, I'll give you a chance to atone for your sins with your death. Chao Xian did not have a shred of aura around him. If he had aura, Su Yu would have died. The dragon realm was an unfathomably high realm. Even his aura was enough to kill Su Yu 100 times over. Su Yu's expression was resolute. A bitter smile appeared on his face. I, Su Yu, have been a failure all my life. My father-in-law's broken arm has yet to recover. My master has yet to take revenge. My fiancée has been threatened, and I am powerless. But a strand of shocking killing intent rumbled in Su Yu's chest like a sudden clap of thunder. Even if I am useless, even if I have failed, even if I am a good-for-nothing for the rest of my life before I die, I will still do something for Xian in my last moments. That is to kill you. Su Yu let out a low growl, his will to die piercing through his will, shaking the heavens. Chapter 128. Chao Xian's suppressed killing intent finally exploded. He slowly lowered his hands behind his back, his tone extremely cold. You have no self-awareness. I regret giving you the chance to die as an apology. Let me do it myself and send you on your way. Chao Xian extended his finger, calmly pointing at Su Yu. This finger was plain and unadorned, but it surged with an unstoppable momentum. It was as if all life would be wiped out by this finger. Su Yu, who was being targeted, could not help but stiffen. The blood and spirit energy in his body became sluggish. He had only felt such an irresistible force from the second elder. The difference was that the second elder had rendered him immobile. Chao Xian had only affected the energy in his body. No matter how much self-awareness you have, it is enough to kill you. Su Yu grunted. Su Yu's expression was resolute. He clenched his fist toward the sky. Icy pearl. Appear. Rumble. The icy azure lake within the icy star suddenly roared angrily, its ripples shocking the heavens. A green pearl the size of a house pierced through the clouds. With the force of light, it passed through the boundary between inside and outside, descending upon Su Yu's head. The terrifying cold energy surpassed the level of cold, causing one's heart to palpitate. Many ordinary disciples froze into ice sculptures just by looking at the icy pearl. As wisps of dark green cold air flowed out, the sky and the earth seemed to be frozen as well. Pitter-patter, strands of mist froze into ice shards and fell to the ground, giving off a crisp sound. The calm expressions of the elders changed for the first time. Shreds of seriousness and shock rippled across their faces. The icy pearl within the icy azure lake. This pearl is the core of the icy star, sealing the extreme cold. Once it shatters, everything within a mile radius will be destroyed. Unless one is in the dragon realm, death is certain. Even a dragon realm cultivator would most likely die at close range. Protect the disciples. The master of the Lucian faction, a middle-aged man with a horse face, did not stop Su Yu. Instead, he used his spirit energy to protect the disciples beside him. The elders did not dare to hesitate. They moved to protect the disciples around them. Their eyes were filled with shock. How could such a terrifying weapon be controlled by Su Yu? Han Ji, whose face was dark and sunken, had a sudden change in expression. He was both shocked and furious. Xianer, retreat. Danger. Panic spread through Han Ji's heart. How could he have expected a Saint King ant to be able to control the terrifying icy pearl? The killing intent and disdain on Chao Xian's face froze the moment the glacial pearl appeared. At first, he was at a loss, but soon after, he recognized the origin of the object. His pupils gradually shrank to the size of a needle. Finally, there was fear, numbness in his scalp, and fear in his heart. The icy pearl of the icy jade lake. Because of its existence, the glacial jade pool was filled with endless cold chi. That pool of water was all because of its existence. Even if a person of the dragon realm were to fall into the cold lake, he would most likely die. If the cold air from the icy pearl entered his body, there would only be one outcome for him, a low-level dragon realm martial artist, and that was death. Without a doubt, he would die from the icy pearl. Su Yu, he could actually control the icy pearl. Swallowing hard, Chao Xian was terrified, his face as white as a sheet. Hearing his teacher's furious roar, his legs trembled. Without hesitation, he turned to flee. At this moment, Su Yu, who did not even have the right to speak to him, who he could kill with a finger, became the source of his fear. I said, "You must die." Suyu let out a cold grunt, carrying Sienna as he flew above the icy pearl. Stepping on the pearl, he gave chase. The icy pearl's speed was unimaginably fast. It took only a blink of an eye to reach the inner sanctum. What more chasing Chao Xian? In less than a breath's time, the icy pearl had caught up. Die. I will do one last thing for Sienna. Su Yu was as cold as a king, his murderous intent extremely cruel. Han Ji slammed the table and stood up, roaring furiously, "How dare you!" Chao Xian was a disciple that he had groomed for many years. How could he allow someone to kill him in front of him? It was not that he was careless and did not guard against Su Yu, but that he did not see Su Yu as a threat, giving Su Yu the opportunity to use his killing weapon. Su Yu ignored him, his gaze ice cold. "Han Ji, you old thief. It's a pity I do not have the power to kill you, or else I would send you to hell with me. Now, bid farewell to your disciple." Creak, the icy pearl collided, crushing Chao Xian beneath it. Ah! With a cry of pain, the escaping Chao Xian was crushed to the ground by the icy pearl. Within the icy pearl, the dark green cold energy sealed within it was stirring. Just a sliver of it was enough to cause Chao Xian to cry out in pain and panic. His cold eyes were completely replaced by fear. "So, do you wish to kill a core disciple in front of everyone? If you kill me, you will have nowhere to run." Chao Xian roared out of his survival instincts as he faced death. Su Yu's lips formed a cold smile. "Even if I don't kill you, you will still kill me. Before I die, wouldn't it be worth it to drag you down with me? We can discuss this. Keep the icy pearl. I can let you live." Chao Xian's gaze flickered. On the surface, he looked like he was submitting, but deep within his eyes was a cold, murderous intent. He could let Su Yu live, but he could not guarantee that his master and the faction would let him live. Today, he had caused a commotion at the wedding and killed Su Rong in front of everyone. The faction would not tolerate his death, trying to buy time so that your omnipotent master can save you. Su Yu calmly glanced at the approaching second elder, his words exposing Chao Xian's plan. In fact, he had given Chao Xian the chance to speak in order to lure the second elder over, then send Chao Xian on his way. Before he died, he wanted to give the second elder a piece of his flesh. Explode. Su Yu laughed, letting out a roar. The dark green cold energy within the icy pearl surged wildly. Crack. A deep crack suddenly appeared on the icy pearl. Not good. He's going to explode the icy pearl. Protect the disciples. Everyone retreat. The Lucian faction master's expression changed. A few of the elders were shocked. They did not need the Lucian faction master's reminder to know what to do. They quickly fled. "He's crazy." One of the elders was deeply shocked as he retreated. When one is at death's door, one must fight with his life on the line. Chao Xian and his master have gone too far. Evil deserves evil. Evil deserves evil. We do not need to intervene to save him. The elders exchanged glances. Crack, crack, crack. The sound of cracking filled the air, accompanied by the terrifying dark green, cold energy. Chao Xian was extremely shocked. Looking at the crazed Su Yu, his heart filled with regret and hatred. If he had known this would happen, he would have killed Su Yu on Shunyue Island that day. Han Ji's expression changed, a sliver of fear flashing in his eyes. His gloomy face was filled with anger. "Little bastard, you deserve to die just like your master." Rumble. How powerful was the attack of the elders? The day Chao Xian died would be the day Su Yu died. But to die with Chao Xian, to be able to injure Han Ji before he died, it was all worth it. He perish together? You must be daydreaming. A hoarse voice mixed with mockery suddenly reverberated in Su Yu's ears. The voice was really close to his ears, just 3 inches behind him. A person had appeared without a single sound. Su Yu's body froze. He had been 3 inches from Han Ji, almost touching him, but he had not sensed the person approaching. His abilities were inferior to Han Ji, and the voice was extremely familiar to Su Yu. The second elder, the ugly woman. A jade-like hand was placed on Su Yu's shoulder. His entire body's power, was instantly restrained. The icy pearl beneath his feet lost its power and gradually quietened down. It was forcefully stopped at the critical moment. Chao Xian was overjoyed. His expression was ferocious. Suyu, I want you dead. Han Ji was shocked by the second elder's power. Seeing Suyu being subdued, his eyes were filled with killing intent. You are just like your master, unable to differentiate good from bad. Die. Taking advantage of Suyu being subdued, Han Ji suddenly attacked. Suyu was filled with hatred. At the last moment, he was blocked by the ugly second elder. He could not drag Chao Xian down with him, and had to watch Han Ji kill him. But at this moment, creak, a bolt of energy suddenly shot out from the jade-like hand on Suyu's shoulder. But it was not to kill Suyu, but it headed straight for Han Ji. Han Ji was caught off guard, hurriedly blocking. Boom! It was just a wisp of energy, but it sent Han Ji flying back 100 meters. His clothes were torn apart by the energy, his hair a mess. His breathing was messed up, making him look battered. Han Ji was shocked and furious. What are you doing? Why did you attack me? The second elder, walked out from behind Suyu. Her disfigured and ugly face made her look like a ferocious ghost. Even in broad daylight, it caused people's hearts to tremble. Many of the younger disciples turned their heads away, not daring to look. Some of the elders also averted their gazes, their expressions filled with disgust. Even the rest of the elders, although their expressions did not change, their eyes were filled with disgust. Her face was too ugly, making it hard for anyone to have a good impression of her. On her ghostly face was a pair of pale eyes, coldly staring at Han Ji. He is someone I want to kill, and only I can kill him. Did you ask me if you wanted to touch him? Han Ji's face turned green and red, but he did not dare to retort. The second elder was irritable and temperamental, easily attacking. He did not dare offend her. He killed a fellow disciple. I will punish him on behalf of the faction. The second elder could only use the faction's name. The second elder squinted her eyes. That old hag? Humph. Her granddaughter was clearly engaged, but she forced her to marry someone else. She went back on her word. Her methods were despicable, heartless. This kind of person deserves to be killed. He is an outer sanctum disciple, yet he trespassed into the inner sanctum. How do you explain that? Han Ji felt that something was amiss. It seemed like the second elder was protecting Suyu. The second elder laughed coldly. 3 days ago, he received the recognition of the icy pearl. He already has the qualifications to enter the inner sanctum. How is this trespassing? Then what about the fact that he injured so many disciples and the guards on the metal bridge? Han Ji felt that something was amiss. The second elder's ugly face lifted slightly, forming a mocking smile. A bunch of trash. You are inferior to others and were injured by this kid. Who can you blame? Nonsense. Han Ji was furious. The second elder's ugly face was filled with anger. She bared her teeth. Are you saying that I am being unreasonable? Han Ji's expression froze. Anyone who was familiar with the second elder knew that bared teeth was a sign that she was about to flip out. Once she went crazy, no one could stop her other than the great elder and the faction master. Han Ji swallowed his saliva, not daring to argue with her anymore. You know your place. If you dare say another word, I will pull out all your old teeth. The second elder retracted her anger and let out a cold grunt. The second elder turned her ugly face and looked at Suyu mockingly. Let's go, pitiful worm. You cannot die in the hands of others. I haven't had enough fun. Thank you, Suyu said softly, revealing a grateful smile. At this point, how could Suyu not understand? The seemingly ugly, repulsive, and perverse second elder was actually helping him. From the External Affairs Division, she had told him that Sienna was about to get married, spurring him to train hard to save Sienna. Now, she had hidden outside the house, quietly observing the situation. She had only suddenly appeared when Suyu was in danger, using the excuse of bringing Suyu and Sienna away from danger. She seemed the most despicable, but in reality, she was the only person in the faction who was truly helping him. Otherwise, she could have just watched the pitiful worm die here. Why would she have needed to show herself and confront him? The second elder's mocking expression suddenly froze, her gaze wavering. So you could see the wavering clearly. There was the surprise of being seen through, the panic of being caught off guard, and the embarrassment of being caught in the act. She glared fiercely at Suyu, fiercely shouting, "I was just toying with you, idiot." But Suyu's smile remained, as if he had seen through her disguise. The second elder's lips twitched. She looked into Suyu's eyes, which were as deep as the starry sky. After a moment, she shifted her gaze, letting out a cold grunt, so long-winded, "Come with me." If her skin was intact, one would definitely see that she was blushing awkwardly. Suyu smiled, his heart filled with gratitude. He had only met the second elder once. Even though he did not know why the second elder had helped him, Suyu could feel it. The second elder was ugly, but her heart was not ugly. Her face was disgusting, but not evil. She had purposely used a hateful method to protect herself, not letting others see through her heart. It looked like the second elder was about to bring them away. Oof. A cold grunt came from the elder's seats. It was an old man with white hair and a face full of wrinkles. He looked as if he was about to die. His dark red body glowed with a terrifying fluorescent light. His old eyes were a dim yellow, like the words of the dead. But no one dared to look him in the eye. The expressions of the elders changed, their hearts beating lightly. Their eyes were filled with deep respect. The master of the Lucian faction also had a serious expression, his eyes shining with deep fear. It was just a cold grunt, but the entire place was silent. No one dared to breathe. This person's identity was obvious. The great elder of the faction. Han Ji's teacher. He was the strongest person in the faction, comparable to the master of the faction. His aged eyes drifted over to the second elder. His voice was flat, but there was an undeniable majesty to it. "Without my permission, they are not allowed to leave." The second elder was lawless, but her eyes showed a rare hint of fear. "Umph, what do you want?" "Suyu, execute him." Qin Xianer continued to marry Chao Xian. The great elder said calmly, as if it was an order from the master. The master was silent. He would not fall out with the great elder, just for Suyu. The other elders did not dare go against the great elder. In an instant, his words had turned the tables. Chao Xian grinned. "Suyu, Suyu, if you die, I will take care of your woman for you. I will love her." Suyu's eyes were filled with killing intent. A bitter smile appeared on his face. He gently pushed away the second elder's palm, his eyes filled with gratitude. "Second elder, you have already done your best. Let me do this myself." Stepping onto the icy pearl again, Suyu exploded with killing intent. Rumble, the icy pearl suddenly sank, crushing Chao Xian beneath it. He groaned. The great elder's gaze was calm. He shook his head. "Death is not to be regretted." Whoosh! His figure suddenly disappeared. Chapter 129. Thump! But at that critical moment, a beautiful figure flew in front of Suyu. She slapped the old man's palm away with her bare hands. Thud! Thud! The second elder and the great elder retreated a few steps at the same time. "You dare attack me?" Surprise, shock, and confusion appeared in the great elder's old eyes. The second elder would attack him. The great elder, for a brat who had nothing to do with him. His ugly face was cold, his raspy voice sending shivers down people's spines. "I said before, only I can kill him. Whoever goes against me, don't blame me for being ruthless." The crowd could not understand why the second elder would do this for Suyu, even going against the great elder. The great elder's yellow eyes gradually turned cold. His authority was not to be challenged. Whoosh! A middle-aged figure flew between the two of them. It was the Lucian faction master. The second elder was the third strongest in the faction. If she were to be injured or killed by the great elder, it would be difficult for him to find a strong helper to deal with the great elder in the future. Thus, he naturally had to mediate. As expected, the great elder's eyes were filled with fear. "Faction master, are you going to attack me?" "Ha, of course not. Both of you are pillars of the faction. How can we let this affect our relationship? Matters between the younger generation should be settled by the younger generation. We will judge fairly. The Lucian faction master smiled to ease the tension, redirecting the conflict to Su Yu and Chao Xian. The great elder glanced at the two of them, nodding his head. All right, that should be the case. But the icy pearl needs to be kept, and the two of them will fight it out. The second elder sneered. A battle between a dragon realm and a holy king. What is there to worry about? Rather than letting them fight, why not let me fight you? That would be more meaningful. The Lucian faction master's gaze shifted, easing the tension. Haha, how about this? Chao Xian will suppress his cultivation level to the same level as Su Yu, and the two of them will fight. Qin Xiener is Su Yu's fiancée. However, she was deceived by the scoundrel Su Rong. Chao Xian and Elder Han Ji were kept in the dark, causing a misunderstanding between both parties. We should not hurt our relationship because of such vile people. It would be best to settle the dispute peacefully with a battle. Chao Xian suppressing his cultivation level. The second elder frowned deeply. Upon reaching the dragon realm, every move and technique possessed great power. Even if the opponent suppressed their cultivation base to the same level as Su Yu would not be able to defend against them. Just as she was about to object, a warm hand grabbed her hand and shook it lightly. When he turned around, he saw that it was Su Yu. He shook his head with a smile and thanked him in a low voice. Thank you. This is already the best outcome. Let me face the rest by myself. The second elder was slightly startled when she felt the palm that grabbed her jade-like hand. A trace of tenderness that was difficult to detect flashed through her fierce eyes. Shortly after, he stared coldly at the Lucian faction master. Settle it in one battle? What was the solution? What would happen if Su Yu lost? Could it be that you want to atone for your sins with death? The Lucian faction master glanced at Qin Xiener and said with a smile, since the conflict started because of Qin Xiener, she will naturally resolve it in the end. If Su Yu wins, Qin Xiener will be returned to Su Yu. Furthermore, this grudge will be written off. Regardless of whether it is the disciples or the elders, no one is allowed to cause trouble for Su Yu. We will all be witnesses. The great elder and the second elder are both respected people. I believe that they will not easily go back on their word. As for Chao Xian, if he goes back on his word, the other elders can punish him on behalf of their teachers. The second elder slowly nodded. That was fair. The great elder calmly nodded. All right. If Chao Xian cannot even defeat Su Yu, I will not have the face to interfere. In other words, Chao Xian could not possibly lose. The Lucian faction master continued. Similarly, if Chao Xian wins, today's wedding will continue. Chao Xian will marry Qin Xiener. Regardless of whether it is Su Yu or the second elder, no one is allowed to interfere. How about that? Su Yu hesitated. Chao Xian freed himself from the icy pearl and laughed coldly. I believe you understand that even if you have the same cultivation level as me, you will not be able to withstand a single blow. Is that why you are unwilling to agree? If that is the case, put down Qin Xiener and scram immediately. Trash does not have the right to be by her side. Su Yu ignored him, lowering his head to look at the trembling Xiener in his arms. His heart was filled with tenderness. I'm just unwilling to use the person I love as a wager. Even if I know I will definitely win, I am unwilling, because she is a heavy burden in my life that I cannot afford to gamble with. Hearing this, the crowd was silent. Su Yu was deeply in love. Even though he knew he would die today, he had still returned from the icy azure lake to steal the bride. They were truly a pair of true love. Xiener's nervous face revealed a sweet smile. She blushed, revealing dimples of happiness. Brother Su Yu, go. I believe you will win, because I will only be Brother Su Yu's bride. Xiener. Su Yu's heart trembled. He slowly raised his eyes, glowing fiercely. I accept the battle. The Lucian faction master heaved a sigh of relief. Good. But today is not a suitable day for a battle. This place is a mess, and some hidden dangers need to be dealt with as soon as possible. As he spoke, he glanced at Su Yu and the icy pearl beneath his feet. Wherever Su Yu passed, Many of the lower-level disciples were frozen into ice sculptures, all of them in need of timely rescue. The great elder creased his brows, but the urgent matter at hand was to deal with the icy pearl that was about to explode. If the hidden dangers were not dealt with, the inner sanctum disciples would be in danger. Good. There will be a small sparring competition tomorrow at the law enforcement tribunal. The two of you can join and fight on the spot. The great elder was in charge of the law enforcement tribunal and knew the details. Chao Xian stared coldly at Su Yu, his lips forming a mocking smile. Su Yu, just watch his eye. Chao Xian, marry your woman. Su Yu's gaze was calm. I hope you can still smile tomorrow. A shred of calmness and confidence blossomed from Su Yu's body, as if he was certain of victory. The crowd began to clean up the mess. The icy pearl was sent back to the icy azure lake and sealed. The frozen lower-level disciples were saved in time. The joyous wedding had come to an end. The news spread like wildfire throughout both the inner and outer sanctum factions. The king of the fallen star, an outer sanctum disciple, had the audacity to barge into the wedding of the disciple of the supreme elder and snatch the bride in front of everyone. In the end, it even incited a showdown between the elders. Once the news spread, it caused a commotion. Su Yu had yet to enter the inner sanctum, but his name had already spread far and wide. Su Yu and Qin Xianer were temporarily brought back to the courtyard of the second elder. Thank you, second elder, for your help. Su Yu bowed, not only for himself, but also for Li Guang. Li Guang had escaped death because of the second elder. Su Yu still owed him a debt of gratitude. The second elder fiercely shouted, Who helped you? I only wanted to keep you alive, so I could deal with you personally. Looking in her eyes, Su Yu smiled but did not speak. His eyes were filled with gratitude. As if she had been seen through, the second elder averted her gaze, her ears trembling. If she was still beautiful, she might have blushed. She glared at Su Yu fiercely. She was both embarrassed and annoyed that Su Yu had seen through her, and she could no longer hide her helplessness. She snorted lightly. Let's see if you can still smile when you lose to Chao Xian tomorrow and get your woman snatched away. If Chao Xian had really suppressed his cultivation level, I might not have lost. Su Yu smiled, gently caressing Xianer's head. For Xianer, even if he had to sacrifice his life, he had to win. The second elder had fought for this opportunity, even if it meant falling out with the great elder. Otherwise, he would have been killed by the great elder on the spot, and Xianer would have been forced to marry Chao Xian in front of his corpse. Fate will slide to the cruelest side. As long as he defeated Chao Xian, he and Xianer could sleep in peace. What was once a hopeless situation had now become a chance to turn everything around. All of this was thanks to the second elder. The normal elders watched from the sidelines, unwilling to go against the great elder. Even the Lucian faction master did not do anything during the wedding. In his eyes, Su Yu was just an ant, unworthy of him going against the great elder. It was only after the second elder made her move that the Lucian faction master had no choice but to step in to ease the tension, creating an opportunity to turn the situation around. Seeing Su Yu's confidence, the second elder was surprised. Where did Su Yu's confidence come from? His cultivation level had risen crazily in the 3 days at the icy azure lake, from first-level peak Holy King to second-level peak Holy King. This was a huge breakthrough of an entire realm. It was nature-defying. In the past 3 days, Su Yu had used the extreme cold energy of the icy azure lake to improve his Sai of Ice by leaps and bounds. Previously, he was still a distance away from stage 1 lower class. But with the help of the extreme cold energy, not only did he surpass lower class, he even broke through to upper class. Not only did he have 70% more spirit energy in his body than others of the same cultivation level, his speed of absorbing spirit energy was also terrifying. Thus, Su Yu was able to survive in the face of death, defying the laws of nature and crossing an entire realm. It was also because he had absorbed the cold energy from the icy pearl that he had formed a connection with it, allowing him to control the cold energy within. Thus, he was able to use the icy pearl as his trump card to kill Chao Xian. The second elder could roughly guess Su Yu's breakthrough process, but could not see where Su Yu's confidence came from. Oomph. It would be best if you were beaten to death tomorrow. Your woman stolen by Chao Xian. The second elder raised her ugly face, fiercely grunting. She swaggered off, leaving behind a string of words. You can rest here tonight. If you want anything, look for Mo Wu. Qin Xiener was a little afraid of the second elder, lightly wrinkling her nose. Brother Su Yu, that woman is so fierce. Su Yu rubbed her head, smiling. That is not fierce. It is a mask to hide her soft heart. Xiener scratched her head, as if she understood, but not really. What Su Yu did not know was that the second elder had left the hall and returned to the backyard. Cough, cough. Her face suddenly turned pale, cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. She coughed violently, a trace of red and black, abnormal blood coming out of her mouth. Master, medicine. Hearing the commotion, an icy beauty flashed over, her expression serious. She immediately took out a bottle of elixirs filled with black pills. After swallowing one, the second elder's complexion slightly improved. The icy beauty was the direct disciple of the second elder, Mo Wu. She had once been ordered by her master to watch the Fallen Star contest, to observe Su Yu. Otherwise, as one of the four great core disciples of the faction, how could the level of the Fallen Star contest catch her eye? Why would she have gone to watch the contest? All of this was because her master had ordered her to observe Su Yu. Seeing the second elder in discomfort, Mo Wu could not bear it and was extremely indignant. Master, why are you so good to him? That day, you were clearly recovering from your injuries, but when you heard that an outer sanctum disciple named Su Yu asked for your guidance for a day, you immediately gave up on your recovery and personally rushed over. Today was even more so. You were clearly injured and could not fight with anyone. You had restrained yourself many times before this. Why did you make an exception for Su Yu and take a palm from the great elder? This caused the injuries in your body to act up. Master, you do not know each other. Why did you do this for him? Mo Wu was indignant, but she was also deeply jealous. What was so good about that disciple named Su Yu? Chapter 130. Taking a deep breath, the second elder's breathing gradually calmed down. Her hideous face, like that of a ferocious ghost, was slightly raised as she looked at the sky. She had a meaningful smile on her face. Her voice changed from hoarse to sweet and melodious, as gentle as a silver bell. Her voice was shockingly beautiful compared to the ghostly face. Wooer, do you remember your expression the first time you saw me? Mo Wu was slightly stunned. She immediately felt guilty and stammered, I was in awe. Not awe, but fear and dread. My face is uglier than a ghost's. The second elder laughed softly. Her laughter was gentle and beautiful, like the voice of a fairy. Mo Wu's face turned red, and she hurriedly knelt on the ground. Teacher, please forgive me for being young and ignorant, for judging people by their appearance. A look of shame appeared on his face. The first time she saw the second elder's ghostly face, even though she pretended to be calm, she was only 13 or 14 years old. How could she hide her true feelings? Fear and dread were her first impressions. After interacting with her for a long time, she realized that the second elder's disgusting face was kind. Her heart was kinder than any righteous person in the faction. Now that she thought about it, her heart was filled with guilt. Even though her teacher had never said it clearly, Mo Wu knew that her gaze had hurt her teacher. Then do you know what Su Yu's gaze was like when he first saw me? The second elder had a gentle smile on her face. Deep in her eyes, there was warmth and gratitude. Mo Wu hesitated. He was only 14 years old. Could he be so mature that he pretended to be calm? He was not calm. He was sympathetic. The second elder's gentle and beautiful voice had a hint of emotion. The scene from that day appeared in her mind. The sun was gentle and the breeze was gentle. On an ordinary summer afternoon, a silver-haired, purple-robed stranger had walked up to her with a smile, asking about the rules of the depository. When he saw her scary, ghostly face, it was not fear, panic, or disgust. It was sympathy. It was the first time a stranger had shown sympathy after seeing her ghostly face. His clear eyes were like the afternoon sun, shining into the depths of her soul. Since young, she had endured too many strange gazes from strangers. She was numb to it and used to it. Only Su Yu's gaze was like the sunlight passing through the dark clouds, shining into her dark and ice-cold heart, causing her soul to tremble. Thus, she remembered the silver-haired, purple-clothed youth, as well as his name, Su Yu. This was the reason why she was willing to help. Everything was because of a single gaze. Mo Wu clenched her fists. She felt ashamed and indignant. She knew very well how much pain her master was in, so she understood why her master had helped Su Yu. Everything was because of gratitude. Gratitude for the gaze that had never looked down on him, disdained him, or hurt him. But why wasn't that person me? Mo Wu felt indignant. With that, the second elder floated away. Mo Wu said, "Tomorrow, I will watch the battle on behalf of Master and tell you the details. You should go in a closed-door cultivation to recuperate." The second elder didn't even turn her head. Her soft and beautiful voice carried an intoxicating gentleness. "This is a battle that concerns his fate. How can I abandon it?" Mo Wu clenched her fists and hammered her jade-like legs with force. "I can't accept this. Why is he the one who makes teacher happy and not me?" At night, a lone candle lit up the lonely room. "Sienna, it's late. Go back to your room and sleep." So you patted Sienna's back lightly. Ever since they had reunited, Sienna had been clinging to him, unwilling to let go. "I won't. I'll sleep with Brother Su Yu." Sienna whined, her snow-white arms hugging Su Yu even tighter. "If I let go, you'll run away again." The first time was at the Twilight Mountains, when he had knocked her unconscious and handed her over to Senior Qin. The second time was at Fengwang Valley, when he had tricked her into leaving first. Su Yu had no choice but to lovingly carry her onto the bed and burrow into the blankets with her. Sienna buried her head deep into Su Yu's chest, enjoying the embrace she hadn't had in a long time. Her small eyes were closed, her cheeks filled with happiness and dimples. Hugging the petite person in his arms, Su Yu's heart was filled with love and affection. But suddenly, Sienna's curly eyelashes moved slightly. Her tender face was flushed red. She buried herself in Su Yu's chest, her lips quivering. "Brother Su Yu, let's consummate our marriage." "Consummate?" Su Yu was stunned. Sienna's voice was like a mosquito's buzz, her face full of shyness. "I heard from Big Sister at Fengwang Valley. When a man and a woman are in bed, they have to consummate their marriage." "Is it the matter between a man and a woman?" Su Yu smiled. Sienna clenched her small fists, showing her nervousness. "I heard that girls are in pain." "I'm afraid of pain, but—" Sienna raised her face, her big eyes looking straight at Su Yu. She gathered her courage and said bravely, "I heard that boys like consummating their marriage because it's very comfortable. So, Brother Su Yu, you do it. As long as Brother Su Yu likes it and feels comfortable, I'm not afraid of pain. I can endure it." Hearing her tender voice, Su Yu was touched. Sienna had always been thinking of him. Even though she was afraid of pain, she pretended to be calm. Su Yu bent down and kissed Sienna's rosy lips. He sucked on her soft lips gently. Although she was inexperienced, Sienna instinctively felt that this was a very intimate action. She closed her eyes shyly, allowing Su Yu to kiss her lips. After a moment, their lips parted. Sienna's face was flushed, her heart thumping nonstop. Her big eyes were suddenly afraid of Su Yu's gaze. She buried her head in his neck and whispered, "It feels very comfortable. I like it very much." Su Yu smiled tenderly. "This is consummating our marriage. It doesn't hurt, right?" Nodding her head quickly, the shadow in Sienna's heart gone. She chuckled. "It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. Hee, those big sisters must have been deceived by boys. Now that you've consummated your marriage, close your eyes and sleep. Okay?" Sienna nodded her head obediently, lying in Su Yu's embrace in satisfaction and falling asleep. In the past 5 days, her mind had changed a few times. Today, she had experienced great joy and great sorrow. She had not closed her eyes for long before she fell asleep. Using the standards of his previous life, Sienna was a lowly in both appearance and intelligence. Su Yu loved her so much. How could he destroy her body so early? Similarly, Sienna would not allow anyone to destroy her. Therefore, Su Yu had to win the battle tomorrow. He had to establish a foothold for himself and Sienna in the Lucian faction. He had to create a possibility for their future. If he lost, Sienna would be destroyed by Chao Xian, and he would spend the rest of his life in guilt and regret. Clenching his fists, Su Yu hugged Sienna and fell asleep. The next morning, Sienna was sleeping like a kitten. Opening his eyes, he looked at the sleeping Sienna. She was like a cute little elf in the mountains, worthy of love. Suddenly, Su Yu's gaze fell on her neck. The mark of a fire phoenix could be seen clearly. This was the mark of Sienna's bloodline of the 9 phoenixes. However, what made Su Yu slightly puzzled was that around the fiery phoenix, there was an indistinct layer of faint black fog surrounding it. Could have been like this in the past, but he had never noticed it. Oh, Sienna flipped over in a naive manner. The mark was suppressed, and he could no longer observe it. Su Yu collected his doubts and looked at the white sky in the east. He then kissed her rosy lips and got up quietly. The battle that would decide Sienna's life had finally arrived. As he left the courtyard, he saw a lady standing quietly at the entrance. She was about 20 years old and extremely beautiful. She had an oval face that was as fair as jade. Her facial features were soft and exquisite, and her face was like peach blossoms in April. Her long black hair quietly hung down to her slender waist. Her light yellow robe tightly wrapped around her mature and graceful body, revealing her alluring curves. What a classically beautiful woman, but her temperament was cold and distant, pushing people 1,000 miles away. You're finally awake. Humph. I've been ordered by my teacher to bring you to the law enforcement tribunal. The icy beauty's expression was covered in ice all year round, and it was difficult for her to show her emotions. But Su Yu could faintly feel an indescribable hostility. She was the direct disciple of the second elder, Mo Wu, one of the 4 great core disciples of the Lucian faction. Ability, Dragon Realm. Nodding his head slightly, Su Yu's expression was calm as he followed her to the Law Enforcement Tribunal. The Law Enforcement Tribunal was the organization that carried out the punishment of the faction. It was used to intimidate the faction's disciples. Hence, the requirement for ability was extremely high. They held a small sparring session every month to train the disciples' combat abilities. But today's sparring session had an extraordinary significance. The elders of the faction would be there to observe. The second elder and the 10th elder would be there. The fight between the 2 of you will be accompanied by the Law Enforcement Tribunal's 4 rising stars. Mo Wu's slender legs strode forward, coldly saying, without turning her head, 4 rising stars of the Law Enforcement Tribunal? Su Yu nodded. How are their abilities? At least 3rd level Holy King, Mo Wu replied coldly. She paused for a moment. By the way, let me remind you that the Law Enforcement Tribunal is the most powerful organization in the faction. Members who are above 3rd level have the right to cultivate legacy-level cultivation techniques. The black armored guards that you defeated previously cannot compare. Cultivate legacy-level cultivation techniques? Su Yu's expression was calm. He had never underestimated the Law Enforcement Tribunal, so he was not surprised. Glancing back at Su Yu's calm expression, Mo Wu thought he was overconfident. She coldly grunted. You better take this seriously. It's fine if you lose the woman, but don't embarrass my master. Yes, Senior Mo, Su Yu smiled in response. Mo Wu continued coldly. The 4 rising stars are the most outstanding new Law Enforcement Tribunal disciples in the past 5 years. Every one of them has dealt with evil people individually. Their abilities are shocking, and they have rich combat experience. Among them, the strongest rising star, Wang Xinxue, is a 3rd level peak Holy King. He once fought with a 4th level Holy King and did not lose. So he was shocked. Wang Xinxue was very strong. Among the 3rd level Holy Kings, he rarely met a worthy opponent. During the sparring session, if you're defeated by someone else before you have even fought with Chao Xian, it will be considered your defeat. According to the agreement, Qin Xian'er will be betrothed to Chao Xian. Neither you nor my master can object. They entered the training grounds of the backyard of the law enforcement tribunal. A murderous aura assaulted their senses. Groups of men dressed in black stood on both sides of the training grounds. Every breath they took and every look they gave off was oppressive. Those who did not have a strong will would inevitably be afraid upon entering the law enforcement tribunal. Su Yu's expression was calm as he walked to the training grounds. For young men dressed in black had already arrived. They were silent and stood below the arena, their bodies emitting a cold aura. When can I fight? Su Yu took a light breath. He desperately wanted to fight Chao Xian as soon as possible to settle this once and for all. Mo Wu calmly said, "The second match will be you." Not long after, the second elder and the 10th elder arrived. The great elder had a noble status and did not have the time to observe a small sparring session. The faction master's goal had been achieved. No matter the outcome of this match, the grudge between the two parties had been resolved. Chao Xian arrived with the 10th elder, sneering at Su Yu from afar. "I, Chao Xian, will take your woman. I, Su Yu, will also take your life." Su Yu coldly replied. Their gazes collided, their battle intense, exploding. This match concerned Xian'er and Su Yu's future. Su Yu could only win, he could not lose. If he lost, he would lose Xian'er's entire life. Chapter 131. Now that the two supreme elders had arrived, the competition naturally began. First battle, Luo Hao versus Song Yu. Whoosh! A man and a woman flew across the training field. Dressed in black, their expressions were cold, and their temperaments were steady. Baleful auras appeared on the surface of their bodies. Luo Hao was ranked 4th among the 4 new stars, a 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. Song Yu is ranked 3rd, a 3rd-level lower-tier Holy King. Mo Wu introduced expressionlessly. Su Yu sized up the two of them. They were at the same cultivation level, but Song Yu, who was a woman, was ranked higher than Luo Hao. Let the competition begin. Shua. In an instant, the two figures attacked decisively. As a female, Song Yu had an innate advantage in flexibility. Coupled with the movement technique she cultivated, her body was as light as a swallow. Her movements were light and agile, and her attacks were gentle and precise. Luo Hao was tall and sturdy, but it did not affect his agility. His hands and feet attacked and defended at the same time. Crackle. The two of them exchanged several blows. Just from the evaluation of movement techniques and attack, they were equally matched. It was impossible to see how Song Yu ranked higher than Luo Hao. After 10 moves, the two of them clashed their palms and separated. In the past month, your movement technique has improved slightly. Not bad. Next, you will have to spar with an outsider. The competition has come to an end. Song Yu's face was filled with praise. Luo Hao cupped his hands and bowed. Thank you, Senior Apprentice Sister, for your comments. Senior Apprentice Sister, please feel free to make your move. I want to see if I can withstand your full strength. Song Yu was intentionally suppressing his strength to spar with Luo Hao. All right. Song Yu nodded her chin, her jade-like hands nodding. A ball of water vapor the size of a palm condensed in his palm. Zhang Xian clenched his fist, and the water vapor condensed into a ribbon that wrapped around his arm. White silk in the sky. With a shout, Song Yu closed in. The ribbons around him danced in the air like a swimming dragon. Su Yu's expression was slightly grave. Legacy-level cultivation technique. After entering the sect, this was the first time he saw a disciple executing a true legacy cultivation technique. Luo Hao's expression froze. He spread his arms like a rock spreading its wings and soared into the sky. Rock spreads its wings. With a low roar, his feet moved like a spiral, and his body twisted as he descended from the sky. It rotated at high speed, stirring up the surrounding air and emitting an ear-piercing explosion. Gusts of strong wind swept across the surroundings, causing Su Yu's silver hair to flutter. I've come into contact with the level of a legacy-level cultivation technique, Su Yu muttered. The corner of Song Yu's mouth held a bit of praise. Not bad. In just a short month, my comprehension of the Heaven's Path divine art has improved, but it's still not enough. The ribbon in her jade-like hand was dancing softly, but at this moment, it was as sharp as a whip. The water ribbon fiercely whipped down, causing the air to tremble slightly. Crackle. It was like a clap of thunder that resounded in the sky. It was as if Luo Hao had been struck by lightning. His flying body stopped abruptly as he flew out of the arena. Whoosh! The ribbon turned into a ball of gentle water and gently supported Luo Hao to the ground. "Thank you, senior sister, for showing mercy." Luo Hao was grateful, but his face was bitter. "I didn't think that I would still lose to senior sister." Song Yu smiled. "Inherited cultivation techniques are extremely powerful and can greatly increase your overall strength. In the future, if you can successfully comprehend the inherited cultivation technique, the gap between us will naturally be made up." After his speech, Song Yu's smile gradually disappeared, replaced by coldness. He frowned as he looked at Suyu. "You are Suyu? Come up. I've been ordered to spar with you." From his expression, Song Yu seemed to dislike Suyu a little. "Is it finally my turn?" Suyu took a step forward, cupping his hands in respect. "I am Suyu. I would like to seek guidance from senior sister Song Yu." "Seek guidance?" A lawless person, this song doesn't dare to be called that. A faint, baleful aura surfaced between Song Yu's brows. As a disciple of the law enforcement tribunal, she naturally hated people who violated the rules of the faction. Not only had Su Yu barged into the inner sanctum, killed Su Rong, injured the guards of the metal bridge, and even caused a commotion at the wedding of the disciple of the elder. His reputation in the law enforcement tribunal was not good. If not for the protection of the second elder, he would have long been punished by the law enforcement tribunal. Feeling Song Yu's hostility, Su Yu's expression was calm. "I was only trying to save my fiancée. In a moment of desperation, I might have violated the rules of the faction. If I have offended senior sister, I hope you can forgive me." Sophistry. The rules of the faction are the most important. No matter the reason, anyone who violates the rules of the faction should be punished. Song Yu's expression became colder. Suyu creased his brows. This woman was too stubborn about the rules. He asked, "According to what you mean, even if I knew that my fiancé was being forced to marry someone else, I should still watch from the sidelines?" "Yes." Song Yu was decisive and concise. "The rules of the faction are above everything else. How can your fiancé be compared to the rules of the faction?" Su Yu's gaze turned cold. He did not wish to be entangled with a woman who did not know right from wrong. He calmly said, "Let's fight. I have nothing more to say to you." Song Yu's lips formed a mocking smile. "It seems that you are too confident in your abilities after defeating the guards of the metal bridge. All right, I will use my abilities to wake you up. It is best if you respect the law enforcement tribunal. In front of the law enforcement tribunal, your abilities are useless." White silk in the sky. Whoosh, a soft ribbon wrapped around her arm. As Song Yu closed in, the ribbon circled in the air. Her speed was extremely fast, leaving behind a series of afterimages. Crackle. It was like a whip dancing in the air, ready to deal a fatal blow to Su Yu at any time. "Get down." Song Yu was furious, her jade-like hand slashing towards Su Yu. At the same time, the jade ribbon behind her was like a whip, ruthlessly lashing at Su Yu's back. In an instant, Su Yu was attacked from both front and back. But he stood his ground, not dodging in the slightest. Instead, he struck out with both his hands, one toward Song Yu in front of him, the other towards the ribbon behind him. Crash! The two palms collided in the air. But Song Yu, a third-level lower-tier holy king, was sent flying by Su Yu's palm in the direct collision. She spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. Song Yu's face was filled with shock. In a direct clash of spirit energy, she was no match for the low-level Su Yu, but her face was filled with dissatisfaction. "Get down." She abruptly pulled back her arm. The ribbon that was attacking Su Yu completely struck Su Yu's back. The power of a legacy-level technique from a third-level holy king was not to be underestimated. But Su Yu did not even turn his head, calmly pointing his finger. Crack! A shocking scene appeared. Struck by a finger, the fierce and soft ribbon suddenly stopped, turning into a hard ice sculpture. Furthermore, an astonishing chill was being transmitted through the soft ribbons at an extreme speed. Not good. Song Yu's expression changed. He wanted to give up on the ribbon, but it was too late. The chill traveled along the whip and froze Song Yu's arm into ice. As she screamed in fear, her entire body turned into a crystal-clear ice sculpture. 2 fingers and 1 move had defeated Song Yu. Luo Hao was aghast. Even someone as strong as Song Yu had been defeated in 1 move. Su Yu calmly retracted his palms, calmly looking at Song Yu's ice sculpture. Actually, you are the one who is too conceited. Then he lightly tapped his toes. Crash! Song Yu's entire body froze, turning into ice shards. She was liberated. Whoosh! Taking a few deep breaths, Song Yu's face was flushed. Her breathing was uneven, and her face was red. Su Yu was so powerful. Defeating the Black Armor Guard that day was not a coincidence. Chao Xian's disdainful eyes turned serious for the first time. Humph, you do have some foundation. The 2nd elder and the 10th elder were also slightly surprised. At the wedding yesterday, Su Yu had not fully displayed his abilities. Many people thought that Su Yu's ability to defeat the Black Armor Guard was the limit of his abilities. Who would have thought that even someone as powerful as Song Yu would be defeated by him? 3rd match, Song Yu versus Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang was ranked 2nd among the 4 rising stars of the Law Enforcement Tribunal, just below Wang Xinxue. His abilities had reached 3rd level upper tier, Holy King. It had to be said that his abilities were exceptionally terrifying. Song Yu took a few deep breaths and flew to the training grounds. Senior Chun, please enlighten me. Song Yu's eyes were filled with anticipation. Sparring with someone stronger than him, like Chun Xiang, would usually be rewarding. There were not many opportunities like this. Every month, he would only get what he wanted during the sparring sessions. Among the 4, Chun Xiang was the most serious. To be precise, he looked a little sinister. The way he looked at people always gave people a very sinister feeling. Chun Xiang lightly nodded. Make your move. Song Yu was delighted. He attacked with all his might. White silk sky. His body was wrapped in a soft ribbon. Song Yu closed in, full of anticipation for the battle. But just as he was about to exchange blows with Chun Xiang, his gaze suddenly became extremely sharp. Breaking Dragon Palm. A palm like a giant blade slashed down from the sky. It was as if it could split the heavens, slicing the dragon in half. The ferocious force was incomparably strong. The energy it stirred up was hard to look at. Su Yu's expression was slightly grave. Stage 1 upper class of a legacy-level technique. No, it was only infinitely close to Stage 1 upper class. There was still a fine line separating it. But the power was already extremely terrifying. With a pathetic shriek, Song Yu had no way to resist. He fell to the ground on the spot. The sound of ribs breaking drifted into his ears. What a ruthless palm. It was clearly a sparring session, but Chun Xiang was so ruthless. Blood flowed from the corner of Song Yu's mouth. He endured the pain and climbed up with difficulty. He looked at Chun Xiang with fear and anger. Senior Chun, we agreed to a sparring session. Why are you so ruthless? Chun Xiang stood with his hands behind his back. His eyes were gloomy. Humph, you still have the cheek to ask why. You can't even defeat a 2nd-level Holy King. You're useless. You've lost the face of the Law Enforcement Tribunal. This palm was a punishment. There will be no next time. Biting his lips, Song Yu dragged his injured body off the stage. With that, Chun Xiang stared at Su Yu coldly. I advise you to admit defeat immediately when you meet me. Otherwise, you'll suffer. Su Yu's gaze was calm. I also advise you to treat your enemy with caution. Even if you look down on him, do not belittle him. You're not worthy of my attention. Chun Xiang coldly scolded. At this moment, the referee announced. 4th match, Chun Xiang versus Chao Xian. Was it finally Chao Xian's turn? So you wanted to see how powerful a 2nd-level peak Holy King would be when his cultivation level was suppressed. I admit defeat. But just as the referee finished speaking, Chun Xiang decisively admitted defeat. Chao Xian, who was about to step forward, casually stopped in his tracks. He lightly dusted his clothes and curled his lips. At least you know what's good for you. Looking at Chun Xiang, his face was cold and his forehead was covered in cold sweat. The serious and sinister Chun Xiang actually forced out a smile. It could be seen that the respect he had for Chao Xian, who was at the Dragon Realm, was deep in his bones. As such, Chao Xian, who had suppressed his cultivation level to be lower than Chun Xiang, was so cowardly that he did not even have the will to fight. Wang Xinxue, who was at the side, shook his head. Martial arts can be lacking, but the martial heart cannot be destroyed. Hearing this, Chun Xiang looked embarrassed, but he did not agree with Wang Xinxue. At the Dragon Realm, even if his cultivation level was suppressed, his cultivation techniques and battle experience were still present. How could he be a match for Wang Xinxue? Fifth match, Su Yu versus Chun Xiang. Chun Xiang's smile suddenly disappeared and was replaced with a sinister expression. Kid, I'll give you a chance to admit defeat. Otherwise, it will not be so easy to get off the stage later. The honor of the law enforcement tribunal is not so easily violated. Whoosh, flying onto the stage, Su Yu calmly said, "Not everyone is like you, bullying the weak and fearing the strong." Chapter 132. One move? Ha ha ha. You are indeed a daring person who disregards the rules of the faction. In terms of arrogance, I am far inferior to you. Chun Xiang laughed. Since that is the case, I shall see how you defeat me in one move. Whoosh, the speed of a third-level upper-tier Holy King was astounding. He was much faster than any opponent Su Yu had ever encountered. In the blink of an eye, Chun Xiang disappeared from his original spot, leaving behind a trail of afterimages as he headed straight for Su Yu. When he saw the afterimage 3 meters away, Chun Xiang was already 1 meter away. Chun Xiang laughed coldly and struck with his palm. You are only SOSO. Creak. His palm easily penetrated Su Yu's body. He did not even have time to react. The pupils of the spectators shrank slightly. Su Yu was inferior to Song Yu to be able to succeed so easily. However, Chun Xiang's cold smile gradually stiffened. His palm did not feel like it had hit anything. It was as if his palm had struck the air. Looking over, Su Yu's figure slowly dissipated. It was actually an afterimage. A law enforcement tribunal disciple who was watching the battle had a look of shock on his solemn face. The law enforcement tribunal disciples had undergone all kinds of special training. Their eyesight was the focus of their special training. However, not a single person present discovered that it was actually an afterimage. Wang Xinxue's calm eyes gradually turned serious. He muttered softly, "What fast speed! Even my eyes were fooled." Mo Wu's beautiful eyes flashed with surprise. An unimaginable movement technique. From the clarity of the afterimage, he must have left in the nick of time. However, his speed was too fast for normal eyesight to follow. Chao Xian narrowed his eyes, his expression cold. Humph! His movement technique is passable. Only the second elder and the 10th elder had calm expressions. Everything was under control. Chun Xiang's heart skipped a beat, as if his heart had missed a beat. The speed was so fast that he cannot capture it. Su Yu's movement technique was above his. Whoosh! A light flapping sound came from above his head. Chun Xiang looked up. A purple shadow stood indifferently above his head. On its back was a pair of ice crystal wings that emitted a cold light, silently flapping. You could not even capture my real body. How can you blame Song Yu for being useless? Su Yu coldly spat out. Song Yu, who was below the stage, was slightly stunned. The grievance in her heart was slightly relieved. When she looked at Su Yu again, Su Yu was actually speaking up for her. Chun Xiang's face alternated between green and red. Gritting his teeth, he condensed his spirit energy into a pair of wings and soared into the sky. You're just relying on your movement technique. Is that what makes you so arrogant? Nothing more than this. Chun Xiang shouted angrily. He flew closer, and after taking a good look at the right angle and timing, his palm suddenly chopped down. Dragon-breaking palm. His palm was like a blade from the heavens, slashing upwards. It was as if he wanted to kill the heaven and earth azure dragon. A boundless aura danced wildly as spiritual energy swallowed and spat out. The might of an inherited skill that was close to stage one large mastery shook the heavens. Just the wind from his palm was like a gust of wind, and it was painful. Suyu's expression was calm. He let out a light breath, and the cold energy in his body gathered in his right palm. The icy divine wings, which had been cultivated to greater mastery of the first level, was activated, and a pair of flying swan wings suddenly flapped. Whoosh! Suyu's figure disappeared into thin air. Chun Xiang's expression changed. Shameless Jr., running away again. Shua. Before he could finish speaking, a figure teleported and appeared 1 meter in front of him. A cold palm collided head-on with his palm. Boom! Ice shards flew everywhere, and a cold wind howled. The frightening spiritual energy shook the surroundings, bringing with it a strong gust of wind and countless ice shards, causing the disciples around the training grounds to retreat. In the cold wind, Song Yu squinted her eyes, trying to discern the situation in the training grounds. Ice shards flew everywhere, causing the training grounds to be like a snowstorm, white as snow. But in the blur, Song Yu's pupils shrank, and her face was filled with shock. A purple figure stood in the wind and snow. Under his feet, a figure was writhing. When the energy weakened and everything became clear, many people were as shocked as her. Chun Xiang had been slapped to the ground by Suyu. His right palm, which had used the dragon-breaking palm, was frozen into ice. Chun Xiang himself was pressed to the ground from the air by gravity. The ground where Chun Xiang was lying on had many cracks. Chun Xiang was crushed, and he spat out blood. He looked at Suyu in fear. Your spiritual energy is stronger than mine. How is that possible? Even the legacy-level technique of the faction, Thousand Thread Mantra, cannot expand the power of spiritual energy to such an extent. Chun Xiang was in disbelief. Suyu was not practicing the Thousand Thread Mantra, but the sigh of ice from the divine, ice ancient kingdom. The expansion of spiritual energy was not something the Thousand Thread Mantra could compare to. Now that he had achieved stage 1 upper tier, his spiritual energy was 70% higher than others of the same level, which was equivalent to a 3rd-level peak Holy King. Chun Xiang could not compare. The second elder secretly sized up Suyu with her pale eyes, slightly surprised. If she was not mistaken, this was already Suyu's second legacy-level technique. One was a body technique, and the other was a spiritual energy expansion technique. Moreover, they were not legacy-level techniques of the faction. Where did he get them? The 10th elder also saw the clues, and his eyes narrowed. This disciple of Li Guang was a little strange, but when he saw his own disciple, Chao Xian, his heart calmed down. No matter how strong Suyu was, he could not be stronger than Chao Xian. Glancing at Chun Xiang, Suyu retracted his icy divine wings and said indifferently, I am not arrogant, but you are a piece of trash. Since you lost to me in one move, should you accept the punishment of the other disciples of the law enforcement tribunal? Chun Xiang was both embarrassed and angry. Because Song Yu had lost to him in one move, he had taught her a lesson and called her a piece of trash. Now that he had lost to Wang Xinxue in one move, should he be punished by Wang Xinxue? The 6th match, Wang Xinxue versus Chun Xiang. Wang Xinxue looked up, slowly walking into the arena. When he passed by Chun Xiang, he shook his head in disappointment. His body trembled, and Chun Xiang revealed a look of fear. I admit defeat. Chun Xiang chose to admit defeat. He was afraid that Wang Xinxue would punish him like how he punished Song Yu. Most importantly, he was definitely not Wang Xinxue's match. He could not even shake his opponent with a finger. Wang Xinxue did not stop him, but was even more disappointed. He commented indifferently, You are far from Suyu. Your abilities are not as good, and your temperament is not as good. It is no surprise that you lost to him. Chun Xiang could not refute and lowered his head in shame, but he was not convinced. If Suyu did not have the strange spiritual energy, how could he win? He had cultivated the legacy-level technique to the point where he could touch the 1st level of mastery. If they had the same amount of spiritual energy, Suyu would have been crushed to pieces and would not be humiliated like this. The 7th battle, Wang Xinxue versus Chao Xian. Chao Xian didn't move at all. He didn't even look at the training field. He waited for a while, but there were no words of surrender. Only then did he look up. What? You don't want to surrender? Even though I know I can't beat you, I still have to fight. Wang Xinxue's gaze was resolute. She glanced at Su Yu, who was standing at the side with his eyes closed. Admiration and admiration filled her heart. Even though the disciples of the law enforcement hall had a negative opinion of Su Yu was still in a bad mood. However, Wang Xinxue had witnessed the battle of the falling stars with his own eyes. His unyielding will to survive in the face of death had deeply shaken his soul. In fact, after witnessing that battle, a shadow had appeared in Wang Xinxue's heart. Although his strength was not high, his unyielding spirit of heaven forsaking me, I would rather become a demon, was as imposing as the heavens. That person was Su Yu. At that moment, he wanted to be like Su Yu. Even though he knew that he was no match for Chao Xian, he still wanted to fight bravely. As long as the soul was not destroyed, the martial heart would last forever. A trace of disdain appeared on Chao Xian's face. Since there were elders present, he could only go up. Whoosh! A piercing sound rang out as Chao Xian made his move. However, Chao Xian remained in his original position. Wang Xinxue frowned. Why? Does Senior Chao not want to spar with me? However, a faint mocking voice suddenly came from the training ground behind him. You can't even catch my shadow. How can you spar? Wang Xinxue suddenly turned around. It was Chao Xian standing behind him with his hands behind his back. Looking at Chao Xian beside the 10th elder, the Chao Xian gradually turned into a shadow. An illusion. Wang Xinxue was shocked. Chao Xian had suppressed his cultivation level to 2nd level peak Holy King, but his speed still exceeded the limits of his vision. Suppressing the anxiety in his heart, Wang Xinxue's eyes were filled with anticipation. He cupped his fists and bowed. Senior Chao, please enlighten me. The words enlighten me were definitely not polite. With Chao Xian's strength and status, Wang Xinxue did not have the qualifications to spar with him. Now, it was all thanks to the battle between Chao Xian and Su Yu that he had the opportunity to spar with him. He did not know if he could last more than 10 moves with Chao Xian if he suppressed his cultivation level to a level lower than his own. At least 3 moves was Wang Xinxue's bottom line. If he could last more than 10 moves, he would be satisfied. After all, he was facing a powerful fighter of the Dragon Realm. His cultivation techniques and battle experience were all retained. Enlighten me? There is no need. Chao Xian coldly shook his head. I will let you have 3 moves. After that, admit defeat and get off the stage. My opponent is Su Yu. I have no time to waste with you. Wang Xinxue was slightly stunned. His face turned red from the humiliation. Senior Chao, are you looking down on me? If you want to attack, attack immediately. Otherwise, you will not even have the chance to attack. Chao Xian lightly snorted. Not even have the chance to attack. Wang Xinxue was deeply unconvinced. If that is the case, I will embarrass myself. Wang Xinxue bellowed and attacked decisively. Heavenly Dragon Strike. Wang Xinxue clenched his fists and suddenly punched out, like a dragon emerging from a sea. 2 light yellow dragon shadows shot out from his fists. The dragon shadows roared, emitting an aura that could intimidate all living things. The 2 dragons collided violently, as if they were going to shatter mountains and rivers. So he was slightly surprised. This move had actually reached stage 1 upper class of a legacy level technique. It was not far from stage 1 upper class. The strength of the move was rather terrifying. Chao Xian was surprised, but then he curled his lips into a smile. Whoosh! His figure suddenly disappeared. He did not take advantage of the situation to attack Wang Xinxue, but instead headed straight for the 2 dragons. 6 fingers of destruction. Chao Xian bellowed. He was clearly a 2nd level peak Holy King, but his 6 fingers condensed a terrifyingly hot flame. When he tapped the air, the flames swallowed everything. The dust in the air was completely reduced to nothingness. Creak! The 2 powerful dragon shadows were extinguished in an instant. A faint spark followed the dragon shadows and headed straight for Wang Xinxue. Wang Xinxue's expression changed. Legacy level technique, stage 1 upper class. Seeing the spark heading for him, Wang Xinxue hurriedly cut off his connection with the two dragons. But it was too late. Creak! The flame immediately burned his body, turning his clothes and hair into ashes on the spot. The smell of burnt flesh, accompanied by Wang Xinxue's pained expression, drifted into the air. The second elder frowned slightly and flicked her finger. Creak! The flame was extinguished. Wang Xinxue's body was char-black, and he fainted on the spot. The disciples of the law enforcement tribunal were shocked beyond words. The leader of the 4 stars, facing Chao Xian, who was 1 level lower than him, did not even have the ability to retaliate. Chao Xian sneered. With this level of skill, you can't even give you a 3-move handicap, and you dare talk about sparring with me? Chao Xian did not retaliate just now. It was just a spark that accidentally spread to Wang Xinxue. But even so, Wang Xinxue was still defeated. The final battle, Chao Xian against Su Yu. Whoosh! Almost as soon as the referee finished speaking, Su Yu flew forward in a flash. His pair of cold eyes emitted a deep chill. He had been waiting for this battle for too long. Chao Xian sneered. You're finally here. There was no need for words between the two of them. Today's training ground was their stage, a stage prepared for their battle. Su Yu closed his eyes, took a deep breath, and suddenly opened them. Let's fight. Chapter 133. I, Chao Xian, will take your woman. Chao Xian's lips curled into a mocking smile. Su Yu did not seem to hear him, his gaze calm. He gathered the cold energy in his body and prepared to fight. Seeing Su Yu struggling like a trapped beast, Chao Xian's mocking expression became even more intense. Very well. The more you resist, the more interesting it will be when I step on you. In the past, my teacher stole your teacher Li Guang's woman. Today I, Chao Xian, shall steal your woman. This is the fate of the both of you. Your women are destined to belong to us, master and disciple. What a pitiful pair. Even your fates are the same. These words were spoken through telepathy. After all, Han Ji was below the stage. Su Yu's calm eyes fluctuated intensely. A shred of deep hatred welled up in his eyes. 100 years ago, Han Ji had stolen Li Guang's woman. Today, it was a similar scene. Han Ji's disciple was using this battle to steal Li Guang's disciple's woman. Similar fates had overlapped after 100 years. Firstly, you will not be able to steal my woman. Secondly, I, Su Yu, will take your lives one by one. Su Yu replied calmly. Chao Xian stood with his hands behind his back, just like how he had stood on the giant bird on Xinyue Island. He looked down at Su Yu with disdain. Wait until you can withstand one of my attacks. I will not be merciful to you. Crack! The cold energy in Su Yu's body surged, radiating in all directions with his feet as the epicenter. The cold temperature turned the training ground into a world of ice. The ice spread to Chao Xian's feet, but avoided him. It was as if Chao Xian was a ball of flame, causing the cold energy to retreat. Hee, that pitiful cold energy of yours is useless against me. Chao Xian mocked. 6 fingers of destruction. He casually stretched out 6 fingers, each of which was surrounded by terrifying flames. The dust in the air turned into nothingness. Creak! With a flick of his fingers, sparks flew. Wherever the sparks passed, the ice turned into white water vapor. In the blink of an eye, the ice in the training ground disappeared, with the exception of a 1-meter radius around Su Yu. Wang Xinxue, who was gradually regaining consciousness, stared at this scene with deep shock in his eyes. Even if Chao Xian suppressed his cultivation, his battle prowess was still not something a 3rd-level Holy King could match. The 6 fingers of destruction, a fire-based cultivation technique, could restrain Su Yu. Fire was the nemesis of ice. Meeting me is your fate. Chao Xian sneered. Your cultivation technique is restrained by me, Chao Xian, and your fate will also be restrained by me. The second elder's pale eyes inadvertently revealed a trace of worry. Su Yu's ice, which he relied on the most, was countered, and his chances of winning shrank. Su Yu stood still, his expression calm and indifferent. He did not panic. Chao Xian narrowed his eyes. Humph. Do you know that your self-composed expression is disgusting? Regardless of whether it was his first time arriving at Shenhua Island or yesterday's wedding, Su Yu's expression had always been calm. He was like an ant that refused to lower its head, which made him unhappy. As you wish. Pretending to be calm, Chao Xian snorted. 6 fingers of destruction. Qila, the fiery red flames emitted a terrifying heat as they revolved around the 6 fingers. Whoosh! Chao Xian's movement techniques were exceptional. In the blink of an eye, he was beside Su Yu. His 6 fingers were like rays of light as they pierced through Su Yu's chest. Your cold energy is restrained. What pride do you have? Rumble. The 6 fingers of destruction were about to strike. Su Yu's eyes shot out a cold glow. Raging flames. I'm sorry, but I have them too. What? Su Yu also cultivated a fire-based cultivation technique? That was not possible, since he had focused on cultivating the ice path. If he rashly cultivated the fire-based cultivation technique, the two would clash, and it would only bring harm. Glazed ice flame. Su Yu gave a low grunt. Qila. A shocking scene appeared. Su Yu's entire body was suddenly covered in a layer of dark green flames. The flames were 3 meters tall, enveloping his entire body. The raging jade-green flames made his skinny figure look even taller and bigger. The sudden pulsation of the flames shocked everyone. How is that possible? Is it possible to cultivate both the ice and flame paths at the same time? Countless disciples were dumbfounded. The calm 10th elder was leisurely sipping his tea. His pupils shrank when he saw the raging flames from the corner of his eyes. After abruptly shooting his gaze over, he was shocked. The 2nd elder revealed a hint of surprise. This is indeed a flame, but it is not a flame, it is an ice flame. Raging flames formed from ice. Chao Xian's attack caught Su Yu off guard. The raging 3-zhong raging flames in Su Yu's body caused him to turn pale with shock. This is the deepest part of the depository of scriptures, the most difficult and powerful legacy-level technique to cultivate, glazed ice flame. His heart was unprecedentedly shocked. The glazed ice flame was known as the most difficult technique to cultivate in the depository of scriptures. In the history of the Lucian faction, no one had ever successfully cultivated it. It was rumored that even cultivating it to lower class required at least 10 years, sometimes as long as 50 years. With such a long time, a complete legacy-level technique would be more than enough to cultivate half of it. Why waste time on a remnant of a scroll that could only touch the lower class level? Regardless of whether it was the disciples or the elders, no one touched the scroll. But how long had Su Yu been in the faction? He had only been in the faction for a little more than a month, yet he had successfully comprehended this nature-defying technique. Su Yu was only a step away from mastering the glazed ice flame. Under the icy azure lake, with the help of the cold energy of the icy pearl, he had finally broken through to stage 1 lower class. Congratulations, you got it right. Su Yu let out a cold smile. He struck out with his right palm. The jade-green raging ice flame swept across the land with the power to devour everything. The ice flame was extremely cold, beautiful and dazzling, stunning everyone. The unique ice flame blossomed in the world for the first time. Creak! The frighteningly high temperature of the 6 fingers of destruction was extinguished by the jade-green ice flame. A layer of ice flame adhered to Chao Xian's finger, quickly spreading to his entire body, burning him alive. Ah! Chao Xian let out a cry of pain. He could only feel that the layer of ice flame was quickly devouring his life force. It looked like the ice flame was not a real flame that could burn everything, but the life force in his body was being devoured by the terrifying jade-green ice flame. Die! At this critical moment, Chao Xian let out a low roar, a fiery red flame surging out of his body, 1 red and 1 green. Chao Xian's body was unprecedentedly magnificent. The jade-green ice flame did not receive the support of the cold energy, ultimately being devoured by the raging flames. Whoosh, whoosh. Chao Xian panted heavily, his expression a little haggard. A shred of fear appeared in his eyes. If he had hesitated for even a moment, that terrifying ice flame would have been enough to devour him. Following that, his face was filled with anger and humiliation. To think that he had been so confident previously, but he had almost died in their first exchange. Chao Xian could even faintly feel countless doubtful gazes. They were doubting his abilities, doubting his honor as one of the 4 great core disciples of the faction. Humph! I only used 30% of my abilities just now. You are too happy too early. Chao Xian fiercely raised his head, gritting his teeth. He was not lying. Against Su Yu, he had indeed only used 30% of his abilities. He had thought that it would be enough to kill Su Yu, but who knew? Then use all your abilities. Su Yu calmly said, his expression calm. He was not proud. Chao Xian gritted his teeth. Fine. I will use all my abilities to defeat you in one move. 6 fingers of destruction. Completely withdrawing his contempt, Chao Xian's fingertips glowed brightly. A layer of crimson flames spread from his fingers to his entire body. With a loud bang, it shot up 4 zhang high. Compared to Su Yu's ice flame, it was 10 zhang higher. The intense high temperature caused Su Yu's icy raging flames to waver. Su Yu is in trouble. The disciples below the stage thought to themselves. The glazed ice flame is known as the most difficult legacy-level technique to cultivate, but is also the most powerful legacy-level technique. However, Su Yu has only cultivated it to stage 1 lower class. It is still difficult to compare with a stage 1 top class legacy-level technique. The 10th Elder's eyes flashed, gradually calming down. He once again leisurely sipped his tea, a faint smile on his lips. To be able to comprehend the glazed ice flame is indeed amazing. Unfortunately, the outcome of the battle has already been decided. The 2nd Elder was worried. If this was what Su Yu was relying on to win, there was no doubt about the outcome of this battle. Chao Xian's gaze was fierce, flashing over. His 6 fingers were dotted with raging flames. I'm sorry, but your woman is mine. Under stage 1 top class, tremble in fear. Chao Xian had victory in his grasp. His 6 fingers carried towering, raging flames as he struck forward. However, at this critical juncture, Su Yu did not use all his strength to block. Instead, the ice flame surrounding his body suddenly retracted. He wanted to use his flesh and blood to block Chao Xian's attack. As the crowd was puzzled, a purple light shot up to the sky beneath Su Yu's feet. A terrifying, destructive energy formed a solid attack that radiated in all directions. A cold voice came from Su Yu's mouth. Stage 1 top class, huh? I'm sorry, but I still have it. The raging flames that Chao Xian was so proud of, Su Yu also had it. The stage 1 top class legacy level technique that Su Yu was so proud of, Su Yu still had it. Whoosh, whoosh, the sound of light rotation, accompanied by the destructive energy, entered the ears of the crowd. Looking down, the beautiful eyes of many women were filled with excitement. They felt their scalps go numb, but they could not hide their fondness. Under Su Yu's feet, there was a huge purple lotus with a diameter of 3 feet spinning. The lines of the lotus were clear, the veins of the petals distinct. 9 petals quietly unfolded with the wind. Within the lotus, a few clusters of stamens swayed gently. The quiet and beautiful lotus was elegant and graceful, like a beautiful lotus fairy. It was lifelike and did not seem like an illusion. But even though the purple lotus was beautiful, the layers of purple lightning arcs made people's scalps go numb. Within the purple lotus, there was a terrifying lightning violently circulating. The violent and frightening aura of the destructive energy caused everyone's hearts to beat wildly. Even a single look at it made people's hearts jump, their hearts filled with unease. Many of the disciples near the training grounds involuntarily took a step back. Their instincts told them that the purple lotus was extremely dangerous. The 2nd Elder froze. After staring for a moment, He was deeply shocked. A lightning-based legacy-level technique, Stage 1 top class. The 10th Elder's leisurely expression gradually turned rigid. A sense of foreboding welled up in his heart. Just how monstrous was Su Yu's level of comprehension? He had accomplished the most difficult legacy-level technique in a short month. And now, at the age of 14, he had comprehended Stage 1 top class. Where did Li Guang find such a disciple? Why was he so uneasy? As an elder, the fact that he could feel uneasy was enough to show the impact Su Yu had on his heart. A trace of killing intent rose up, but under the gaze of the second elder, who seemed to be smiling yet not smiling, it was suddenly extinguished. It was too late to kill Su Yu. The best opportunity had been missed. In the training grounds, the purple light shone. Su Yu stepped on the destructive purple lotus, looking even more like a celestial than a mortal. He looked like the legendary Lotus Boy. Purple Star Thunderbolt had always been a step away from Stage 1 top class. Under the icy azure lake, Su Yu had made a breakthrough, finally breaking through to top class. Chao Xian's cold smile suddenly froze. A feeling that made his scalp go numb welled up in his heart. Su Yu let out a cold laugh. This attack was prepared for you. Savor it with your heart. With a tap of his foot, the purple lotus spun rapidly. In that instant, the purple light shone in all directions, extremely blinding. To thank the two Piao Hongbook friends from the day before, Tumray and Xiao Xiao. The second watch at noon, the second watch at 8 at night. Chapter 134. Rumble. Thunder rumbled, shaking the heavens and shaking the earth. The training ground shattered, countless cracks spreading in all directions. The powerful shock wave radiated in all directions. Dust filled the sky, energy flying everywhere. Accompanied by lightning arcs, it was as if the mountains were collapsing. Countless disciples hurriedly retreated. The battle between two legacy-level techniques of Stage 1 top class was terrifying. The smoke and dust dispersed, and the sand settled. The crowd looked over, their expressions changing. The training ground was beyond recognition, full of scars. There were only two figures standing in the field. One was calm, his purple robe fluttering, his silver hair cascading like a waterfall, his hands clasped behind his back. The other's clothes were in tatters, a few areas of his skin exposed. His flesh was mangled and burnt, releasing a pungent smell. The battle between the two was clear. Su Yu was unharmed, but Chao Xian was lightly injured, his cheeks pale and battered. In a direct confrontation, Su Yu had the upper hand. They were both legacy-level techniques of Stage 1 top class, but Su Yu had the advantage in spirit energy, reaching third-level peak Holy King. Chao Xian had the advantage in the physiological limits of his body, exceeding that of a Holy King. Otherwise, the Purple Star Thunderbolt would have been enough to take his life, not just lightly injure him. But there was no doubt that Su Yu had won this battle. Even with all your abilities, you are still no match for me. Su Yu had a cold smile. The only thing you are better at than me is that you have cultivated 6 years more than me. In front of me, you have no right to be arrogant. In the past, in Chao Xian's eyes, Su Yu did not even have the right to speak to him. But now, with the same cultivation level, he was no match for Su Yu. This was undoubtedly a blatant mockery. The referee looked at the situation and announced, "Winner, Su Yu." He had used his abilities to declare victory, successfully taking back Qin Xianer. From now on, Chao Xian and Qin Xianer had nothing to do with each other. The remnants of Su Rong's influence had been completely removed. The second elder nodded. Su Yu had hidden many tricks up his sleeves. It was truly surprising. Chao Xian did not feel wrong to be defeated by Su Yu. The 10th elder's face was gloomy. He had been completely defeated in a battle that he had been confident of winning. Losing Qin Xianer's talent was a small matter, but losing face was a big deal. A Dragon Realm warrior who had retained his techniques and battle experience had been defeated by someone of the same level. In fact, if he did not have the constitution of a Dragon Realm, he would have lost his life. The 10th elder's face turned green and red. Li Guang, you're already dead, yet you left a disciple behind. Are you trying to embarrass me? This battle had come to an end. No matter how much power Chao Xian displayed, he was completely restrained by Su Yu. Su Yu suppressed him from the beginning to the end. Coldly glancing at Chao Xian, Su Yu turned around and walked down the training grounds. His heart was empty and relaxed. He could finally be with Xian. What are you doing? However, at this moment, the referee let out a furious roar. Soon after, a sharp sound of something tearing through the air rang in Su Yu's ears. A wisp of terrifying aura that was rapidly rising was like an overturning of the seas and rivers. It was as if a giant prehistoric monster was about to devour Su Yu. A life and death crisis that made Su Yu's hair stand on end suddenly welled up in his heart. Behind him, Chao Xian's eyes flickered with intense, killing intent. What are you? You think you can beat me? Die. With a ferocious roar, Chao Xian broke the rules and broke the cultivation level restriction on the spot, charging toward Su Yu to kill him. Su Yu turned around abruptly, his heart thumping wildly. The shadow of death shrouded him in an instant. A shred of ice-cold light returned to his eyes, accompanied by an intense killing intent. If you can't afford to lose, then don't fight. I'll kill you. Chao Xian was furious. He was not willing to lose, especially to an ant that he had once looked down on. Humph! If that's the case, then don't blame me. Su Yu pointed at his eyes, removing two thin veils. One red and one purple, a pair of eyes that were different from normal people's, like the eyes of a deity, were revealed to the world. Who do you think you are? If I want you dead, I can. His words came to an abrupt end. As Su Yu's purple left, eyes shone brightly. Seal of time. With a low grunt, Su Yu controlled time with a glance, freezing Chao Xian's body on the spot. Chao Xian's consciousness was still present, but his body was no longer under Chao Xian's control. Chao Xian's recovering cultivation level suddenly stopped. His vicious sneak attack abruptly stopped. His entire body leaned forward, as if it was inertia. But it only lasted for a moment before he regained his freedom. A shocked expression appeared on Chao Xian's face. Without thinking, he immediately retreated, maintaining his distance. That purple left eye was too strange, causing his body to feel as if it had fallen into a space-time turbulence, rendering him unable to move. Thus, he wisely retreated, waiting for his cultivation level to recover to the dragon realm before killing Su Yu with a flick of his finger. What made Chao Xian even more grateful for his wise decision was that, at the moment he froze, Su Yu had formed a long spear burning with raging flames in his palm. There were emerald green flames of ice, and there were also deep purple flames of thunder and fire. One purple and one green, one thunder and one ice, fused to form a 3-zhong-long spear. The aura of destruction, the terrifying energy that made one's skin crawl, far surpassed the giant purple lotus from before. Its threat was enough to seriously injure Chao Xian, who had the constitution of the dragon realm, or even kill him. Chao Xian's scalp felt numb, and he was overwhelmed with shock. Half divine grade holy decree. The holy decree was usually cultivated to saint grade top class, and it was difficult to progress any further. It was the same for the dragon realm. Most people would give up after entering the holy king level and gaining control of powerful spirit energy. The realm after the saint grade was extremely difficult to comprehend. Without luck and a heaven-defying level of comprehension, it was extremely difficult to succeed. But Su Yu had actually comprehended it to the frightening level of half-divine grade. The second elder and the 10th elder were on their way to stop Su Yu, but Su Yu suddenly released his trump card, half-divine grade holy decree. The half-divine grade holy decree that could only be comprehended after years of comprehension was displayed by Su Yu, a 14-year-old youth. Stop! The 10th elder's eyelids twitched. This move was enough to threaten Chao Xian. Su Yu turned a deaf ear to him, holding the long spear in his hand, throwing it toward Chao Xian. The long spear, formed from the fusion of the azure purple flames, emitted a terrifying destructive energy. The raging flames of ice and the raging flames of thunder fused into one. They turned into a long spear, piercing through Chao Xian. Chao Xian's scalp went numb, and he retreated with a grave expression. As the distance was too far, Chao Xian had enough time to dodge. After confirming that he could safely retreat, a sneer appeared on his lips as he commented mockingly, "Humph, the power is still passable. It's a pity that the one who used it is an insignificant ant. What can he do to me? What can I do to you?" Su Yu's wine-red right eye suddenly released a blinding light. Space ruler. Wherever the wine-red light passed, Su Yu was the ruler of all space. A layer of space energy suddenly appeared beside Chao Xian. In his confusion and panic, his figure was forcefully teleported. Creak. When he reappeared, he was forcefully teleported 10 feet in front of the long spear. That speed that was as fast as light only gave Chao Xian an instant to scream. Heavenly punishment of ice and thunder. With a low roar, the divine punishment spear formed from the fusion of ice, thunder, and flames pierced through Chao Xian's body. Rumble. A sound that was far louder than the giant purple lotus shook the entire law enforcement tribunal. Everyone in the Lucian faction, including the inner sanctum and outer sanctum, were shocked by this terrifying sound that shook the heavens. The sound that covered the sky was like a solid substance, sending the roof of the law enforcement tribunal flying. Several disciples were even swept away by the raging waves of energy. Billowing dust surged like waves of energy, shaking all directions. The shocking scene caused everyone to gasp. Was this still the attack of a second-level Holy King? No. Even a third-level Holy King's attack was far from this powerful. When the dust dissipated, everyone looked over, shocked beyond words. The walls of the training grounds were in a mess, cracks spreading on the verge of collapsing. A youth covered in blood, his clothes torn to shreds, was nailed to the wall alive. A dim purple spear of raging flames pierced through his abdomen, nailing him to the wall. The raging flames of ice and the raging flames of thunder continuously seeped into his body, destroying his vitality. This person was Chao Xian. Not a single part of his body was unscathed, his flesh a mess. His abdomen had a large, bloody hole. His breath was weak, his eyes blurred, his head drooping, barely maintaining his consciousness. He had been defeated again. From the beginning of the battle, he had been ruthlessly crushed by Su Yu. He had flames, so Su Yu used the raging flames of ice to crush him. He had stage 1 top class, so Su Yu used the purple star thunderbolt to crush him. He had broken through the suppression of his cultivation level in an attempt to kill Su Yu, so Su Yu used his trump card to crush him again. From the beginning to the end, Su Yu was like a dog, torturing him from head to toe. His dignity and arrogance were completely trampled on. He did not even leave the slightest injury for Su Yu. The disparity between before and after had caused Chao Xian to suffer a crushing defeat. The unprecedented humiliation turned into a deep hatred. He lifted his head abruptly, his eyes filled with hatred as he grinned. "Su Yu, do you think you've won? Do you think you can snatch your woman back just because you've defeated me?" Chao Xian's words had shaken his wound, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. This made him look even more ferocious. "Coincidentally, there's only one day left. I suggest you go back and check on your fiancée's condition. If you want to save her, obediently send her to my bed." Chao Xian grinned, as if he had grasped Su Yu's lifeline. It was as if he was the final winner. Whoosh! A swift sound of wind could be heard. Su Yu's figure descended, ignoring Chao Xian's crazy words. Su Yu ruthlessly pointed a finger at Chao Xian's chest. Su Yu had taken advantage of Chao Xian's injuries to take his life. "Junior, that's enough." A low, angry roar came from behind Su Yu. Su Yu's body trembled. The blood and spirit energy in his body were not flowing smoothly. He swayed and fell to the ground. The 10th elder flashed over, pulling Chao Xian down from the wall. After checking his injuries, his face was filled with murderous intent. Not only was Chao Xian's flesh a bloody mess, His bones were all broken, and his internal energy channels were all shattered. There was also a cold and thunderbolt energy crazily destroying his body. Even though he was not dead, he was half crippled. To fully recover, he would need at least half a year. At such a young age, you are so ruthless, injuring a fellow disciple. I cannot let you live. The 10th elder's eyes narrowed, his murderous intent apparent. Whoosh, but at this moment, a beautiful figure stood in front of Suyu. Her ugly face was filled with murderous intent. Why? Do you want to be unreasonable? She said coldly. Chao Xian violated the rules, breaking through the restrictions on his cultivation level and launching a sneak attack. He deserves to die. Since he is not completely dead, I will be kind and send him off. Who could compare to her in terms of being unreasonable? Rumble, the 2nd elder, attacked without hesitation, killing Chao Xian with one finger. The 10th elder's expression changed. He immediately carried Chao Xian and left. It was only when he reached the entrance of the law enforcement tribunal that he was furious. Fine. Even if Suyu wins this battle, I will let bygones be bygones. He was really worried that the 2nd elder would go crazy and kill Chao Xian, forcing him to suffer this loss. Chao Xian endured the extreme pain, gritting his teeth. Suyu, just wait and see. You will beg me to sleep with your woman, huh? His voice gradually faded into the distance, until there was no more sound. Suyu's gaze turned cold. The icy divine wings on his back flickered, and he dashed out. The 2nd elder's ghostly face turned fierce. Do you want to chase and die? No, it's Sienna. Suyu had a bad feeling about this. Did Chao Xian do something to Sienna? Could it be some kind of poison that could not be cured? To the extent that she was certain that Suyu would beg him to sleep with Sienna in order to save her life. Chapter 135. 2nd Elder's Courtyard. Suyu spread his icy divine wings, flickering like a light shadow. When he arrived at the courtyard, there was no sign of Xian. The ominous feeling in his heart grew even stronger. Whoosh! Flying back to the room, he saw Xian still lying on the bed, snoring loudly. Her delicate body was curled up like a kitten, and her expression was adorable. Suyu heaved a long sigh of relief. Sienna walked up to her and pinched her cheeks lovingly. However, just as his fingers were about to touch it, "Stop! Don't touch her!" A hoarse reprimand came from behind. Surprisingly, the 2nd elder had rushed over. He hurriedly glanced at Qin Sienna, and his pale eyes changed from calm to serious. Suyu's fingers stopped abruptly. Puzzled, Zhang Xian turned his head around, and an ominous feeling welled up in his heart. As the supreme elder of the sect, how could he be simple to make her so solemn? 2nd elder, what did Chao Xian mean? Suyu's heart tightened, as if it had been grabbed by an invisible hand. The 2nd elder walked over and stared at the sleeping Sienna for a moment before sighing. As expected, after he finished speaking, he waved his sleeves, and a layer of snow-like moonlight poured down from his sleeves. It was like a light veil, and it covered Xian-Er's delicate body. Under the moonlight, a layer of faint black fog appeared around Xian. The black mist condensed into the shape of a phoenix and wrapped around Xian. The 2nd elder looked at Suyu sympathetically and sighed. The black fog phoenix is a phoenix of death. It is difficult to see it with the naked eye. It can only appear under special circumstances. The phoenix of death? Suyu had an intense feeling that something was amiss. The phoenix of death is relative to those who possess the phoenix bloodline. Possessing the phoenix bloodline does not mean that one can use the power of the bloodline to their heart's content to cultivate, because 30% of people have the phoenix bloodline in a dormant state. The phoenix bloodline in its dormant state is harmless to the body, but there is a portion of people with the phoenix bloodline that is dormant. As they grow older, it will gradually dry up and become a dead bloodline. This kind of phoenix bloodline is called the phoenix of death. This is how it is. Phoenix of death? Suyu suddenly recalled that this morning, when he peeked at the 9 phoenix mark on Sienna's neck, there was a faintly discernible layer of black fog flickering. At that time, he did not pay much attention to it. But who would have thought that it was the sign of the phoenix of death? Suyu was nervous. How does the Phoenix of Death affect the body? Influence? Not really. The second elder shook his head, but his tone suddenly changed. Indeed, there is no effect on the body, but that is because the bloodline is completely exhausted. When the Phoenix of Death completely descends, the host will die immediately. This sort of thing has happened several times in the sect, said the second elder seriously. The ancient records have also mentioned it many times. Once the Phoenix of Death descends, the host will die, and no one can save them. Su Yu staggered, his eyes glazed over. Direct death. How could this be? Why is Chao Xian so confident that he can save Xian? A trace of pity appeared in his eyes. That's because Chao Xian has a special Fire Yang physique. If he marries with Qin Xian, he can use his Fire Yang physique to inject Fire Yang Qi into Xian's Phoenix bloodline. This way, Xian's Phoenix bloodline can survive and gradually awaken, completely solving the Phoenix of Death crisis. So you have two choices. First, watch Xian die. Secondly, give her to Chao Xian. Through multiple sexual intercourse, perhaps Xian can still be saved. The second elder could not help but feel sad for Su Yu. He had clearly gone through many trials and tribulations to finally snatch Qin Xian back from Chao Xian. But his fate was to send his woman back to Chao Xian's bed. Furthermore, it was as Chao Xian had said. Unless Su Yu begged her, Chao Xian might not be willing to save Qin Xian. It all depended on Su Yu's choice. Would he monopolize Qin Xian and cause her to gradually die, or would he reluctantly part with her for the sake of her life? No matter what choice he made, it would be extremely cruel to Su Yu. Su Yu's body trembled. Why was it like this? Either Xian dies, or she is sent to be defiled by Chao Xian. Su Yu's chest felt like it was burning with a raging flame. He was unwilling even if he died. Could it be that other than the Fire Yang energy, there is no other way to continue the Phoenix bloodline? Su Yu did not believe it. The second elder sighed, lightly shaking her head. Other than that, there is no other way. Wait. The second elder suddenly thought of something, her eyes dimming. It is not that there is no other way, but it is as good as nothing. Su Yu was like a drowning man who had suddenly found a life-saving straw. His eyes shone with a terrifying light. Even forgetting his status, he pounced forward and grabbed the second elder's hand, forcefully shaking it. What method? Say it. Say it quickly. I can definitely do it. The second elder was caught off guard, shocked by Su Yu's crazed attitude. Looking at Su Yu's extremely bright light, the second elder's heart was moved. Was Su Yu's love so deep? The method is simple. Find the blood of the Phoenix. The second elder said, the Phoenix of Death descends because the Phoenix bloodline is exhausted. If you can find the blood of the Phoenix and infuse it into your body, not only will the exhausted Phoenix bloodline recover, it will also completely awaken and become unprecedentedly powerful. Blood of the Phoenix? Where? Where can I find it? Su Yu was extremely excited. The second elder sighed. This is why it is as good as nothing. The Phoenix is a real spirit of the world, rarely seen even once in 100 years. Where can I find the blood of the Phoenix? I have flipped through many ancient books of the faction. The last time the blood of the Phoenix appeared was 300 years ago. It was obtained by a strong martial artist of the Dragon Realm and refined into a Phoenix blood elixir, the second elder said. Su Yu's heart felt as if it had been splashed with ice water, but he refused to give up. Where is that senior of the Dragon Realm? Has he consumed the elixir? The second elder looked at Su Yu with sympathy. He has gone missing. Back then, he was one of the 4 great core disciples of the faction. He went missing while training in the ancient Xianyan Temple. Where is the ancient Xianyan Temple? I will go look for it immediately. Su Yu was anxious. You can't go. The second elder sighed and shook her head. The ancient Xianyan Temple is an ancient divine temple floating in the clouds, drifting everywhere. It appears once every 5 years and descends within the territory of the Lucian faction. According to the time, it will descend in 3 months. 3 months? Su Yu hurriedly said, according to Xian's condition, how long can she last? The second elder looked at Qin Xian and confidently said number. Half a year. Half a year. Half a year is enough. Since the ancient Xianyun temple has descended in our faction, why can't I go? Suyu asked. Because the number of people who can enter is limited, only 20. The top 20 will be chosen according to the faction's ranking. With your current abilities, do you think you can enter the top 20 of the faction? The second elder asked. These words were like cold water, causing Suyu's limbs to turn cold. His cultivation base was at level 2 peak, but his overall abilities were at level 3 peak. But in the faction's ranking, not to mention the top 20, even the top 100 would be in danger. With such abilities, it was impossible for him to enter the ancient Xianyun temple. Furthermore, even if you fight your way into the top 20, you will not be qualified to enter. The second elder sighed and added. Suyu's chest tightened. Why? Because those who enter must be people who are loyal to the faction. I might be able to speak up for you if you repeatedly break the faction's rules. But you have only been in the faction for a short period of time and have not made any contributions to the faction. Your loyalty needs to be tested. The ancient Xianyun temple is an extremely valuable training ground. Those who go through the training will usually improve by leaps and bounds. The faction will not give such an opportunity to someone who is untrustworthy. That was indeed the case. If an unscrupulous person coveted the ancient Xianyun temple and entered the top 20 of the Lucian faction, after that, he would betray the Lucian faction. Wouldn't that be a huge loss? This had happened before in the history of the Lucian faction. Hence, unless it was an old disciple of the faction or someone who had made great contributions to the faction, no one could enter. Then how can I prove my loyalty? Should I offer all my legacy-level techniques to the faction? For Sienna, so you would not be stingy. But the second elder shook her head. I'm afraid that even if you offer yourself to the faction, it would be difficult to prove your loyalty in a short period of time. At this moment, even with Su Yu's unyielding will, he was in deep despair. There was a huge mountain in front of him to enter the top 20, and an even more insurmountable mountain of loyalty. Even if he met both criteria and entered the ancient Xianyun temple, finding the missing core disciple 300 years ago, who could guarantee that he did not consume the Phoenix blood elixir that could save Sienna's life. But the despair only lasted for a moment. So you did not believe it. It was not that he had not experienced desperate situations before, but the one in front of him was even more desperate, as long as there was a shred of hope. So you would never give up. Second elder, please tell me, when will the fight to enter the ancient Xianyun temple begin? Also, how can I quickly gain the recognition of the faction's loyalty? Suyu bowed. The second elder's ugly expression changed slightly. Even after knowing such a despairing truth, his determination still did not waver. At this moment, the second elder could not help but want to personally help Suyu find the Phoenix blood elixir. Unfortunately, the ancient Xianyun temple had a cultivation level restriction, and she could not enter. 3 months later, the faction will hold the Xianyun contest. The top 20 will be qualified to enter. But the registration period will end within this month. The minimum cultivation level for the registration is 4th level Holy King. You are still a 2nd level peak Holy King. Your cultivation level is far from enough. If possible, I advise you to give up. Unexpectedly, Suyu was resolute. No need. I must break through to 4th level Holy King within this month. Suyu had to register for the Xianyun contest at all costs. He had to break through to 4th level Holy King within a month. All right. The second elder took a light breath. Suyu's stubbornness made it difficult for her to adapt. As for how to gain the recognition of the faction's loyalty, the only way you can try is to participate in the difficult missions issued by the faction. Carry out important missions for the faction and gain the faction's trust. This is probably your only way. Even though the chances are slim, you might not be able to gain the faction's recognition even if you die. I still have to try. So you clench his teeth, unwilling to admit defeat. How could he let Chao Xian trample on Sienna? Sienna was someone he had sworn to protect. All right, work hard to break through to 4th level Holy King within a month and obtain the right to register. At the same time, fight for the recognition of the faction. But I cannot help you, cough, cough. Before the second elder could finish her sentence, she coughed violently, and a trace of dark red blood sprayed out. Master, M.O. Wu, who was waiting outside, hurriedly came in and supported the second elder. A pair of cold, beautiful eyes stared at Suyu fiercely, filled with deep resentment. She meant that it was Suyu who harmed her master. No matter. The second elder wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and carried the sleeping Sienner. She said to Suyu, I need to recuperate and will be in seclusion for 3 months. Hence, I cannot help you. As for Qin Sienner, I will help you bring her into the secret chamber. If anything happens to her, I will be able to act in time. Thank you, second elder. I, Suyu, will repay this kindness 100 times over in the future. Suyu bowed deeply and sincerely thanked the second elder. The second elder had helped him a lot. Lightly waving her hands, the second elder carried Qin Sienner and left. Before she left, she reminded Suyu, take care. Chapter 136. The news of the fight at the law enforcement tribunal had spread throughout the inner sanctum. Suyu had risen from the fallen star contest in the outer sanctum to the inner sanctum, wreaking havoc at Chao Xian's wedding, then battling Chao Xian at the law enforcement tribunal. Chao Xian, one of the 4 great core disciples, had suppressed his cultivation level, but had been completely suppressed by a new disciple. It was said that after Chao Xian lost, he had broken through the suppression of his cultivation level and launched a sneak attack. In the end, he had been half crippled by the abnormally strong new disciple. If not for his teacher, the 10th elder, intervening, he would have been killed by the new disciple. The shock of the news was no less than an earthquake, quickly becoming the laughing stock of the inner sanctum. Chao Xian became a laughing stock, especially when his sneak attack had failed and he had been beaten half to death. In the courtyard, in the secluded villa of the core disciples, Chao Xian lay on a chair, his body wrapped in thick bandages. Junior Yuan Hu and his good friend, Li Hao, stood around him. Hearing that the two of them had received news from the outside world, Chao Xian's face was as gloomy as dripping water. Yuan Hu grunted angrily. Senior Chao, I'll teach those gossips a lesson on your behalf. Unexpectedly, Chao Xian had a gloomy expression. Haven't I embarrassed myself enough? The rumors were already bad for Chao Xian's reputation. Yuan Hu had been ordered to beat someone up. Wouldn't he be criticized even more? Yuan Hu shrunk his neck, knowing that his flattery had gone awry. He retreated to the side. On the other hand, Li Hao was clever. He rolled his eyes and let out a warm smile, comforting Chao Xian. Do you think we don't know how strong Senior Chao is? If not for the suppression of his cultivation level, he could have killed Suyu with a thought. The gossips in the outside world are mostly people who are jealous of Senior Chao Xian and rejoice in his misfortune. It would be beneath Senior Chao's status to lower yourself to their level. These words struck a chord in Chao Xian's heart, making him feel better. He grunted, I can't be bothered to deal with that bunch of trash. But Suyu humph. Chao Xian's expression turned gloomy again. He was sure that Suyu would send Qin Sienner to sleep with him. But if he did not vent his anger, he would not be able to eat or sleep in peace. Yuan Hu, you can leave, Chao Xian suddenly ordered calmly. Yuan Hu didn't dare to disobey and immediately left. At this moment, Chao Xian looked around cautiously, then said to Li Hao, Junior Li, it is inconvenient for me to move around. Can I trouble you to help me make Suyu look bad? Li Hao's gaze shifted, and his expression became stern. Without the slightest hesitation, he nodded and said, Senior brother Chao doesn't say anything, and junior brother has the same intention. Let's find someone to challenge him and teach him a lesson. Challenge. Chao Xian shook his head coldly. In the same realm, he rarely has a worthy opponent. Challenging him at the same realm is only fueling his arrogance. However, it's against the sex rules for someone of a higher level to challenge someone of a lower level, so it's useless to challenge him. I will listen to Senior Brother Chao's instructions. Li Hao obeyed. Chao Xian pondered for a moment, then took out a bottle of pink elixirs coldly. This is an extremely high-grade underworld dream powder. After drinking it, even a dragon realm would find it hard to suppress its medicinal effects. Find a good-looking and obedient female disciple. And you know what to do next. Serene dream powder? Li Hao took a light breath. This was an extremely high-grade hallucinogenic drug. After taking it, one's qi and blood would boil and their desires would burn. Not to mention a woman, even if it was a sow, it would be hard for him to endure it. Furthermore, it was difficult to suppress one's cultivation level. Even a Dragon Realm cultivator would lose himself. Senior brother, Chao, means to frame Su Yu for raping a female disciple? Li Hao's eyes flashed. Chao Xian grunted. It's good that you understand. Use my name to find a few disciples from the law enforcement tribunal to stand guard outside Su Yu's door. How ruthless. Committing a crime was punishable by death in the Lucian faction. However, Su Yu was rumored to have an affair with his fiancée, Yun Yan. Li Hao naturally would not sympathize with him. After Li Hao left, Chao Xian's eyes flashed with a hint of mockery. Su Yu, you stubborn fellow, I'll let you try. He did not think that he would be able to kill Su Yu by framing him once. At the wedding, Su Yu had killed Su Rong in front of everyone, but the second elder had defended him. What more, a rape that was full of loopholes? With just a look from the second elder, the lying female disciple would have exposed the mastermind, Li Hao. Chao Xian's goal was only to teach Su Yu a lesson and embarrass him. He did not expect Su Yu to be punished. As for Li Hao's fate after he was exposed, Chao Xian could not be bothered to ask. Chao Xian could easily find a bunch of disciples like Li Hao who wanted to curry favor with the second elder. Losing one or two did not matter. As for Li Hao's complaints, would he dare? Little did he know that after leaving Chao Xian's courtyard, Li Hao held the pink jade bottle in his hand, a mocking smile on his face. Chao Xian, oh Chao Xian, even though your abilities are high, in terms of scheming, can you compare to me, who grew up in the royal family? You want to use me to offend the second elder? Do you really think I'm an idiot? Li Hao's eyes were sharp, easily seeing through Chao Xian's intentions. With a flash of his eyes, Li Hao went to the outer sanctum to find Yun Yan. Why are you looking for me? Have you obtained the Fire Dragon mantra? Yun Yan was a little anxious. Her family had sent news that another important client had been roped in by the Tai family. She urgently needed to comprehend a fire-based technique to craft weapons for her family and save her family from a crisis. Li Hao laughed. Of course I have it. I have already applied for leave from the External Affairs Division. I will return to the secular world with you tomorrow to complete the marriage. Anticipation and passion filled Li Hao's eyes. Yun Yan possessed a beauty that could topple nations, a seductive body, and a noble and elegant temperament. Most importantly, she possessed the bloodline of the Fire Lotus. If he could copulate with her and absorb the power of the Fire Lotus, he would be able to break through the bottleneck of 4th-level peak Holy King and become a 5th-level Holy King. Feeling the hidden glint in Li Hao's eyes, Yun Yan felt uneasy. Upon hearing about the marriage, her delicate body trembled. Her heart was filled with bitterness. What was to come would still come. All right, tomorrow, I will return to the secular world with you and complete the marriage. Yun Yan's chest felt stuffy, as if something was blocking it. However, Li Hao's eyes flashed. But before we return, Yun Yan, you have to do something for me, something only you can do. Yun Yan looked up, slightly surprised. Within the faction, was there anything she could do that an inner sanctum disciple like Li Hao could not? This is the Underworld Dream Powder. Treat Su Yu and Qin Xianer to a drink tonight. Sprinkle this in their wine and let the two of them consummate tonight. Once the deed is done, send me a message and I will show myself with the disciples of the Law Enforcement Tribunal. Li Hao did not hide his intentions. Yun Yan was shocked. What? You want to frame Su Yu? I will not agree. Su Yu had saved her life. How could she repay his kindness with enmity? Haha, if you do not want the Fire Dragon mantra, then don't agree. Li Hao's eyes narrowed. Yun Yan was slightly angry. You are despicable. Just say it. Do you agree or not? Li Hao's expression was calm, as if he had Yun Yan in his grasp. Biting her red lips, Yun Yan hesitated for a moment before nodding. All right, I agree. Taking the Underworld Dream Powder, Yun Yan's expression was complicated. This is a communication pendant. After crushing it, It will emit a strong light. When the time comes, I will rush in and catch him and enchantment. Li Hao handed over a fiery red jade pendant. In his heart, Li Hao let out a cold smile. I wonder if Chao Xian would fly into a rage and find trouble with Su Yu if he found out that Su Yu had an affair with Qin Xianer and had touched the woman he had set his heart on. You want to use me, Li Hao? Why don't I use you to deal with Su Yu? It would be best if you could help me deal with Su Yu, saving me the trouble of having to do it myself. Li Hao laughed sinisterly. He would not allow anyone to be involved with his fiancée, even if it was just a rumor. Yunyan grabbed the jade pendant, hesitating. Su Yu is a cautious person. What if he suspects something and refuses to drink? Then you drink it yourself. Li Hao was prepared, taking out a wine pot. It looked normal, no different from the wine pots given out by the faction. This is called the Yin-Yang wine pot. It looks normal, but the mechanism is within the lid. Hide the powder in the lid. When the lid is turned to the left, the powder will spill out. When it is turned to the right, the powder will not spill out. When you pour for them, turn the lid to the left, making them drink the underworld dream powder at the same time. When you pour for yourself, remember to turn the lid to the right. Li Hao reminded. Yunyan bit her lips, hesitating to accept. All right, get ready. I will lure Su Yu and Qin Xianer over. Once we are done, the wedding night will be the day I teach you the fire dragon mantra. Li Hao smiled. Nodding her head, Yunyan walked away. Back in the house, Yunyan took out 3 items, the underworld dream powder, the jade pendant, and the yin-yang armor. Her eyes were cold. Despicable. Even if I, Yunyan, coveted a cultivation technique, I would not harm anyone, much less my savior. Creak. She threw the 3 items into the cupboard in the bedroom. These items were sensitive and should not be thrown away. I will tell Su Yu about this, and let him be careful. Yunyan's eyes were filled with determination. In the courtyard of the inner sanctum, Su Yu was racking his brains, making a detailed plan for his training for the next month. Suddenly, he received an envelope from Mo Wu, Yunyan's invitation. I have overestimated you. You were so deeply in love just now, and now you have an invitation. Mo Wu laughed coldly. Yunyan? Su Yu suddenly stood up, slapping his head, feeling apologetic. Before the Fallen Star contest, Su Yu had repeatedly reminded her not to leave after the contest. He had a gift, the 5 Dragon Blaze, which he had obtained from the Silver Robe Guards of the Empire of Darkness. Recently, his heart had been filled with thoughts of Xianer. If not for this letter, he would have almost forgotten about Yunyan. Without hesitation, Su Yu headed to the inner sanctum, entering Yunyan's house. When he knocked on the door, Yunyan was dressing up in her bedroom. She could not open the door in time, and could only reply apologetically, Junior Su, come in. Please wait in the living room. I'll be right out. Su Yu calmly entered, closing the door behind him and taking out the 5 Dragon Blaze. Seeing that Yunyan had yet to appear, he began to flip through it. There were 2 levels to the top-notch legacy level technique, and it was considered a well-preserved remnant. Su Yu had personally experienced its power. It was extremely powerful, even comparable to Chao Xian's 6 Fingers of Destruction. Yunyan finished dressing up and lifted the curtains. When she looked up, she suddenly saw the scripture in Su Yu's hands. She was behind Su Yu, not far away, and could see it clearly. As Su Yu flipped through the scripture, he was so focused that he did not know that Yunyan was watching from behind. 5 Dragon Blaze, a top-notch legacy level technique with 2 levels. Yunyan's heart was in turmoil. This was a fire-based legacy level technique that she desperately needed, but regardless of grade or completeness, it far surpassed the Fire Dragon Mantra. If she could cultivate this technique, then her family's crafting. Yunyan froze on the spot, unable to move her feet. She even had the desire to ask Su Yu to take a look. But how rare was a legacy-level technique? For a Fire Dragon Mantra, she had not hesitated to marry a despicable person. Not one of the 100 vassal clans possessed it. Its value was indescribable. Su Yu was not familiar with her. Why would he lend it to her? But she knew that if she missed this chance, she might never encounter such a precious and suitable technique in her lifetime. She struggled for a moment. then clenched her teeth and returned to the house. Her hands trembled as she pulled open the cupboard. She took out the obscure dream potion, thinking to herself, if Suyu falls into a burning state and then falsely accuse him of trying to take advantage of me, he should hand over the 5-dragon blaze to me, right? But wouldn't that be too despicable? Yun Yin struggled internally. The 5-dragon blaze had left a deep impression on her. If she had this technique, she could ignore Li Hao and completely break free from the shackles of her marriage. Her family's crisis could also be resolved in a few short years, and her family would rise to the next level. Fate only comes once. I need to grasp it. If Suyu accepts the threat, that would be great, but if he doesn't, sigh. I can't bring myself to harm him. Yun Yin smiled bitterly. She could only scare Suyu. If Suyu refused to hand it over, she would not really harm him. Yun Yin took out the Yinyang wine gourd and placed the wine and obscure dream potion in it, then hurried back to the living room. Because she was in a hurry, she did not notice that there was an identical wine gourd in the cupboard, quietly lying in the cupboard. The lid of the wine glowed eerily. If she had not panicked, she might have realized that this was the real Yinyang wine gourd. Chapter 137. Suyu continued to calmly read the 5-dragon blaze in the living room. Yun Yin bit her lips, her footsteps light. Suyu put down the scroll, tilting his head to look. It was Yun Yin, who had finished dressing up. She wore a light pink gown with a white muslin on the outside, revealing her beautiful neck and collarbone. Her hair was tied up with a ribbon, a butterfly teacup in her hair, a strand of hair hanging in front of her chest. Her plump and perky breasts protruded from her chest, giving off a soul-stirring feeling of smoothness. Her waist was like a willow, delicate and pitiful. Her beautiful face was covered with a thin layer of makeup, and her cheeks were faintly blushing, as delicate as the petals of flower. She really looked like a peach blossom. She was elegant and noble, her beauty inviolable. Suyu, congratulations on getting Sienna back. Yun Yin sat down, her beautiful eyes filled with deep admiration. News of Suyu wreaking havoc at the wedding and fighting Chao Xian had leaked from the outer sanctum. Yun Yin was well informed and had long known. Within the faction, she probably understood how Suyu had gotten to where he was today. Along the way, he had created many miracles, broken through many desperate situations, and left behind many legends. In the outer sanctum, Suyu was already a legendary figure that everyone chased after, and he was the goal of many people. In particular, the unyielding cry of, "If the heavens forsake me, I'd rather become a demon," in the midst of despair became a motto that was engraved in the hearts of countless outer court disciples. In the outer sanctum, Suyu was a legend that could never be surpassed. As someone who had personally witnessed his growth, Yun Yin felt honored. Get Sienna back? Suyu's expression was a little bleak. She had only gotten half of Sienna back. There was still the other half that she had yet to get back. Thank you. Suyu forced a smile. After a moment, Yun Yin clenched her fists, her heart wavering. The more she understood, the more Yun Yin admired and respected Suyu. In her heart, she longed to continue being friends with him. Today, if she gave him the menu powder, regardless of whether Suyu accepted the threat and handed over the 5-dragon blaze, an irreparable rift would form between her and Suyu. How could there be trust in a friendship that was tainted with threats? But when she saw the 5-dragon blaze that Suyu had casually placed on the table, Yun Yan's heart ached. On one hand, she wanted to cherish their friendship. On the other hand, she wanted to protect her family and her freedom to marry. In the end, how should he choose? At this moment, Suyu picked up the 5-dragon blaze with a gloomy expression. Yun Yin, you'll be leaving tomorrow. Seeing Suyu pick up the 5-dragon blaze, intending to leave, Yun Yin panicked. Gritting her teeth, Yun Yin smiled and said, "Leaving so soon? We haven't drunk the wine yet." Suyu's heart was filled with thoughts about Sienna, as well as his cultivation breakthrough, which he had no clue about. So, how could he be in the mood to drink wine? Forget about the wine. Suyu wanted to hand over the 5-dragon blaze. However, he was interrupted by a flustered Yun Yin. How can that be? Tomorrow, I will leave the sect. Perhaps it will be difficult for us to meet again in the future. If I don't have a drink with you, I won't have another chance. As she spoke, Yin hurriedly poured more wine. Without leaving a trace, he pinched the lid and gently twisted it to the right. This way, the Serenity Dream powder wouldn't spill out and the wine would be safe. After that, he turned to the right and poured a cup for Suyu. The cup was filled with wine that contained the underworld dream powder. Hearing Yin Yan's parting words, Suyu's heart ached. He sighed and took the wine from Yin Yan. However, just as he was about to taste it, he realized that the wine was slightly pink. Yin Yan's heart skipped a beat. She tried to cover it up. This is the peach blossom wine brewed by the Yun family. There is a hint of peach in it. After saying this, Yun Yan indicated that there was no poison in the wine and downed it in one gulp. As such, Suyu dispelled his doubts and downed the wine. Noticing this scene from the corner of her eyes, Yun Yan was nervous. She did not feel relaxed. Instead, she felt heavy and uncomfortable. She had finally taken a step forward. For the 5 Dragon Blaze, she had given up on her friendship with Suyu. At this moment, Yun Yan suddenly felt how despicable she was. How different was she from Li Hao? Using underhanded means to coerce others. But thinking back to her family situation, Yun Yan felt bitter. She had to get her hands on the 5 Dragon Blaze. When Suyu's effects took effect, she would use his drunken behavior as a threat to obtain the precious 5 Dragon Blaze. All right, I have finished the wine. You will leave the faction tomorrow. I have just entered the faction and do not have anything on me. I can only give you this. I hope it will be of use to you. Suyu handed the 5 Dragon Blaze to her with a smile. Boom! It was as if a bolt of lightning had struck her brain. Yun Yan froze on the spot, unable to believe what she had just heard. After a while, she stammered, "You are giving it to me?" Seeing her flattered expression, Suyu smiled. "I wanted to give it to you during the Fallen Star contest, but there were too many people watching. I have delayed it until today. I am truly sorry." Another bolt of lightning flashed through Yun Yan's mind. She suddenly remembered that during the Fallen Star contest, Suyu had said that he would give her an item if she waited for him for a while after the contest. Could it be that the item he mentioned was the 5 Dragon Blaze? It is a legacy-level technique. Why are you giving it to me? Yin Yan's throat seemed to be blocked by something, choking on her words. Suyu leisurely said, "In the Lucian faction, you are my only friend. You have helped me before, so what's the harm in giving me a legacy-level technique that I find difficult to cultivate? Take it. I hope you will find it useful." Only friend? At this moment, Yun Yan's heart trembled violently. She had never felt so touched before. Only friend. Yun repeatedly muttered in her heart. Every time she muttered, her heart trembled. Her beautiful eyes became misty. She was touched by the fact that he had treated her as his only friend, touched by his sincerity, touched by the fact that he had not hesitated to pass on a legacy-level technique to her. Suyu had treated her as his only friend, but what had she done to him? Compared to Suyu, Yin Yan felt that she was ugly and dark. She did not deserve to be friends with Suyu. What's wrong?" Suyu was stunned. He stepped forward with concern and patted her shoulder. Meeting Suyu's clear and concerned gaze, Yin Yan bitterly closed her eyes. 2 streams of tears flowed down her cheeks. Whoosh! Yin Yan bowed down, tears in her eyes as she knelt on the ground. "Suyu, I'm sorry." How could Suyu not have noticed something was amiss? Thinking back to the pink wine, a thought flashed through his mind. Could it be that wine? Staring at the kneeling Yin Yan, who was crying in regret, Suyu's eyes flashed with disbelief. Why would such a graceful, noble, kind-hearted lady use such a method on him? After a long time, his eyes turned cold. The wine was poisoned? No, I would not poison you. It was the underworld dream powder, a type of aphrodisiac. Yin Yan hurriedly said, biting her lips and not defending herself. Not poison wine? Suyu heaved a sigh of relief, but his gaze towards Yin gradually turned cold. Can you tell me why? Yin felt guilty and did not hide anything. She told Suyu everything that Li Hao and herself had planned. Hearing this, Suyu was speechless. These drugs were originally used by Li Hao to frame Suyu. Yin Yan's original intention was to pretend to accept it, to tell Suyu about her plot. In the end, Yun Yin saw the 5 dragon blaze and changed her mind. If I do not accept your threat, what will you do? So you kept the 5 dragon blaze in his hands slowly. Seeing this, Yun Yin felt bitter, but also inexplicably relieved. The 5 dragon blaze was too heavy. She could not accept it. Perhaps it would be better for Su Yu to keep it. She brought this upon herself and deserved it. The 5 dragon blaze, which should have belonged to her, was abandoned by her. She could only return to the mortal world and obediently accept Li Hao's humiliation in exchange for the inferior fire dragon mantra. This was all her own doing. She only had herself to blame. I would not frame you, even if you really did not accept my threats. Yun Yin choked. Please believe me one last time. I am despicable, but I would never harm you, Su Yu. Yun Yin raised her head, her teary eyes pleading. She no longer hoped that Su Yu would forgive her. She only hoped that she would not be so filthy in his eyes. But what she could not understand was that the 5 dragon blaze reappeared in Su Yu's hands, and he threw it in front of her. A trace of loneliness crept onto his face. Let's part ways here. You're on your own. His friendship with Yun Yin was severed. After this incident, there was a rift between the two that could not be healed. It was impossible for them to be as harmonious as before. Su Yu's heart was filled with a trace of loneliness. He had once thought that he still had a kind friend in the faction, but in the face of tempting benefits, Yun Yin had still taken that step and abandoned their friendship. He thought back to that day on the vast ocean, heavily injured by a sea beast, sitting alone on an island. Wu Guangyun and Lu Guang looked at each other coldly. Only Yun Yin had given him the rejuvenation elixir out of concern. That beautiful and kind figure was a memory that Su Yu had never forgotten. But now, Su Yu felt a dull pain in his heart. Yun Yan's heart ached even more, as if she had lost something deep in her heart. The friendship between her and Su Yu could no longer be salvaged. I'm sorry. Regret lingered in her heart, causing her to burst into tears. It was as if she had lost her most cherished toy when she was young. As elegant and noble as she was crying over the loss of a friendship. Su Yu was silent, walking away. Sensing that Su Yu was about to leave, Yun Yin hurriedly got up and pulled Su Yu back. Don't go out. Li Hao is just outside. You have the Serenity Dream drug on you. Once it takes effect and you meet a female disciple, you won't be able to control yourself, and won't you be caught red-handed by Li Hao? Su Yu calmed his heart and calmly said, Is there an antidote? There is no antidote. Even a Dragon Realm expert would not be able to withstand it. Yin Yin rubbed her red and swollen eyes. Ashamed, you are in the house in my bedroom. I will lock the door. You will be fine after tonight. Su Yu was frustrated. This was the second time he had been drugged. Just as he was feeling frustrated, Su Yu suddenly felt his body heat up. He was shocked. What a strong drug. It's going to take effect in such a short time. Quick, lock me in the bedroom. Su Yu took advantage of the fact that he was still conscious to seal himself. Even if he was lost, he did not want to hurt Yun Yin. But Yun Yin did not move. Turning his head to look, Yun Yan's face was gradually turning red, her body hot. She could not help but open her collar with her slender fingers, her mouth slightly panting, her face full of confusion and confusion. Why? I suddenly feel very hot. Whoosh! Su Yu grabbed the wine cup that Yun Yin had used, lightly sniffing it, his expression changing. You use it yourself to lure me into drinking this wine? I clearly used the yin yang wine pot. Yun Yan's teeth were chattering, her heart filled with fear. She had also been drugged with the Serenity Dream drug? Su Yu grabbed the wine pot again, lifting the lid, the veins on his forehead throbbing. How is this the yin yang wine pot? It's just a normal wine pot. You placed the powder in the pot's lid, and the wine that poured out was contaminated with the Serenity Dream drug. Yin sucked in a breath of cold air. Her mind went blank, and she panicked. Su Yu was furious. It was one thing for him to be drugged, but at least one person was sober. But even Yun Yin had bewitched him. A sense of foreboding welled up in his heart. What was even worse was that Yun Yan's body was burning. Her collar opened subconsciously. Two half-covered round breasts, under the candlelight, released a shocking snow-white glow. With just one look, Su Yu's blood boiled, the flames in his abdomen burning. his rationality collapsing. As for Yun Yin, under the rapid effects of the drug, her eyes glazed over, her rationality slowly collapsing. She could not help but undo her clothes. The outer layer of gauze had long fallen to the ground. Her luxurious robe gradually became disheveled, revealing a large patch of snow white. Her jade-like face was flushed red, her breathing becoming more rapid, her delicate breasts panting. Compared to Suyu, it was even harder for her to withstand the frightening effects of the drug. Her beautiful eyes were already occupied by the flames, only maintaining clarity for a moment. But even within that clarity was panic and helplessness. When her beautiful eyes saw Suyu, her delicate body trembled. The flames in her body seemed to have found a place to vent, her rationality collapsing even faster. Finally, she bit her red lips, her rationality completely collapsing. Chapter 138. Suyu pushed her away as soon as she entered his embrace, trying to maintain his last shred of clarity. But how could Suyu, with just his willpower, withstand the effects of the elixir that even a dragon realm could not withstand? Traces of flames were burning in his eyes. The primal instincts deep within his heart were stirring. Rustling sounds came from behind him. Yun Yin was in a daze, tearing at her clothes. The jade belt around her willowy waist fell to the wind, her luxurious dress loosening, revealing a beautiful snowy plain in front of Suyu. Her top was in disarray, a pair of perky and round breasts, like a playful white rabbit, leapt out from under her clothes. Thud, thud! Yun Yan's breathing quickened. She pounced on Suyu again in a daze, wrapping her arms around Suyu from behind. A pair of perfect breasts pressed tightly against Suyu's back. Su, you, I want. She let out an intoxicating murmur. Rumble. Suyu, who was struggling to resist, was completely defeated by the intense stimulation from behind and the words, I want. It was as if a spark had come into contact with dry wood, completely ignited. Ah! With a low roar, Suyu lost all sense of reason, his eyes filled with primal instincts. He turned around, picked up Yun Yin, and rushed into the bedroom. The sound of clothes tearing, accompanied by Yun Yan's pleas and intoxicated moans, reverberated in the small bedroom. A moment later, the burning man's lips kissed deeply, tasting the forbidden fruit between a man and a woman, like a thunderstorm. The soft moans, the panting of enjoyment, and the intoxicated pleasure reverberated in the air. In the end, Suyu pressed this perfect body, which was elegant, noble, and beautiful, and he ravaged her mercilessly. Oh, the beautiful moans of pain and pleasure turned into long notes, announcing the end of her teenage years and the birth of the man who possessed her body. Very soon, the melodious and resonant moans that rose and fell with the ups and downs transformed into a spring music score that rose and fell. It was like waves, each higher than the last, rushing towards the extreme happiness of the soul. In an instant, the panting of a man and the moans of a woman intertwined into a beautiful scene of spring. Far away from the house, in a crack in the rocks, Li Hao's expression was calm, 3 disciples of the law enforcement tribunal behind him. One of them was Chun Xiang, whom Suyu had defeated. Senior Li, 2 hours have passed? Why hasn't the signal been sent out yet? Chun Xiang was a little anxious. Li Hao was immersed in scheming and scheming all year round, so he knew that this matter required patience. He could not be impatient, so he calmly said, There's no rush. Let's wait. Chun Xiang was a little worried. Senior Li, your fiancée Yun Yin is on good terms with Suyu. Will she really do as you say? Li Hao's lips curled into a meaningful smile. She has no choice. Controlling the Yun family's lifeline was equivalent to controlling Yun Yin. His engagement with Yun Yin was the best proof of this. Yun Yin knew that the one supporting the Tai family was Li Hao, but she could only lower her head and submit to him. Now that the Fire Dragon mantra was right in front of her, Yun Yin had no reason to disobey. Chun Xiang was slightly relieved. It's just that Senior Li's fiancé has to take such a risk. If Suyu sees through her, injuring her is a small matter, but taking the opportunity to vent his evil thoughts is a big matter. After all, Senior Lee's fiancée is beautiful, and her abilities are far from Suyu's. These words caused Li Hao's heart to skip a beat. Then he lightly shook his head and indifferently said, "No. Firstly, Suyu and Qin Xianer are both here. How would he dare to act rashly in front of Qin Xianer? Secondly, even if Suyu was poisoned by the Phantom Dream Powder and tried to do something to her, she would have already crushed the jade pendant. Yun Yin is pure and would never allow her innocence to be sullied. I understand this very well. There is still no movement. It seems that Yin has not found chance to act. We just have to wait patiently." Li Hao was calm and confident. He had used similar schemes many times in the royal family. He was very familiar with them, and there would not be any accidents. This wait lasted for a full 6 hours. As he waited patiently, the rune continued to bloom. Under the effects of the aphrodisiac, the man and woman did not know fatigue. Under the rhythm of moaning and panting, the two white bodies seemed to want to fuse into each other, crazily seeking pleasure from each other's bodies. Only when the sky was bright did the effects of the aphrodisiac gradually dissipate. The two of them were exhausted, lying on the messy bed, unable to even move a finger. Suyu was naked, lying on the bed powerlessly. Yin Yin was panting, sweating profusely. She was like a ball of soft mud, lying powerlessly in Suyu's arms. Her smooth and fragrant body had a few bruises. Her proud breasts, jade neck, and collarbone were blooming with lipstick marks, showing the extreme craziness of the previous night. At this moment, the two of them gradually regained their senses. Suyu looked up at the ceiling, speechless. The cause of the incident and the craziness of the previous night were absurd. Yun Yin was still panting, her hair wet and her cheeks flushed red. Her clear and beautiful eyes had the shock of waking up, the fear of losing her chastity, the uneasiness of the future, and the memory of the extreme pleasure of the previous night. The only thing she did not feel was the grievance of losing her chastity. In fact, her heart felt much more at ease. She owed Suyu an irreparable guilt, and today was her repayment. Other than giving her cherished chastity to Suyu, as well as her fire lotus constitution, Suyu had successfully broken through from second-level peak Holy King to third-level Holy King through the craziness of the previous night. Her chastity and the opportunity to break through were her deep compensation. The guilt in her heart had greatly weakened. She did not even know if she should be thankful for the absurdity of the previous night, or else she would regret it for the rest of her life. "Can you forgive me?" Leaning in Suyu's embrace, Yun Yan's expression was tranquil, but her fists were clenched nervously. Suyu was stunned for a long time, gently hugging her soft shoulders, sighing, "Since you are already my woman, how can I forgive you? I will take responsibility for you." Their relationship was too sudden, so you did not know how to explain it to Xianer. In Xianer's small heart, she only loved him. If another woman appeared, would she be sad? Woman? Responsibility? Deep in Yun Yan's heart, she suddenly felt a sense of sweetness. Most importantly, Suyu had already forgiven her. Knock, knock. There was a knock on the door. It was Li Hao, his expression ugly. Yun Yin, open the door. Yun Yin had been on guard for the entire night, but she had not sent a signal. Could it be that Suyu and Qin Xianer did not come? Or did Yun Yin dare to betray him and protect Suyu and Qin Xianer? On the bed, Suyu felt slightly guilty. In name, Yun Yin was Li Hao's fiancée, but Yun Yan's warm and soft hand held onto Suyu's hand, her jade-like face revealing a cold expression. "It is time for me to settle things with him. Come in. I'm in the bedroom," Yun Yin replied coldly. Li Hao froze, then kicked the door open. 3 law enforcement tribunal disciples followed behind him, entering in a line. Since Yun Yin had let them in, she must have already dressed up. Li Hao naturally lifted the curtain, but what he saw was like a million thunderbolts roaring in his mind. Li Hao froze at the door, unable to believe the scene in front of him. His fiancée was wrapped in a thin bedsheet, sitting on the bed with another naked man. The 3 law enforcement tribunal disciples behind him, upon entering the room, were all stunned. Wasn't that Senior Li Hao's fiancée? Why was she on the bed with Suyu? They were even more acutely aware that even though she was covered by the bedsheet, her shoulders were slightly exposed, the outline of her perfect body clearly telling them that Yun Yin was naked at that moment. The slightly pungent smell in the air, the messy bedsheet, and the glaring red plum blossoms on the bedsheet all clearly reflected the alluring scene. Most notably, on Yun Yan's collarbone and neck, there were several lipstick marks, the marks of a wild night. Without a doubt, Li Hao's fiancé had spent the entire night with Su Yu. The law enforcement tribunal disciples also felt as if they had been struck by lightning. It was clearly Li Hao who had come to frame Su Yu. How did it turn into Su Yu sleeping with his fiancée? But in the end, they were still less affected than Li Hao. Chun Xiang coldly shouted, "Su Yu, you raped a female disciple. Do you know your crime?" Yun Yin leaned back slightly, burying her head in Su Yu's shoulder. Her snow-white skin was flushed red. "I was willing to be with him. I did not rape him." Could it be that the law enforcement tribunal has to interfere with the wishes of both parties? Ugh! Chun Xiang's words came to an abrupt halt, staring blankly at Li Hao. "Your fiancé was willing." Thud, thud, thud. Li Hao stumbled back a few steps, his eyes filled with disbelief. The scene in front of him had toppled his world. He had never thought that his fiancée, whom he had a death grip on, would one day willingly lie in another man's bed. Did she not want to save the Yin family? Or did she no longer care about the Yin family? Thinking back to the day before, when Chun Xiang had warned him that Yun Yin might be violated by Su Yu, he had confidently said that nothing would happen. He wanted to slap himself to death. His fiancée had slept with another man in the house. Yet he had stood outside the house, waiting for an entire night. Being cuckolded, this was an insult that no man could bear. "Su, you, and you bitch." Li Hao's body trembled. This was the first time in his life that he had been humiliated. Yin Yan's eyes were cold. "What, you want to fight?" This was the faction. Who would dare to fight? Even Chao Xian had to abide by the rules of the faction. What more Li Hao? "Fine. When I return to the mortal world, I will demand an explanation from the Yun family. As my fiancé, how dare you sleep with another man?" Li Hao suppressed his urge to kill, clenching his teeth. Unexpectedly, Yun Yin calmly said, "I'm sorry, our engagement can be annulled. I am with the man I love. What does that have to do with you?" "Annulled the engagement? You dare." Li Hao was so angry that his chest was about to explode. Yun Yin did not even look at him, lying deeply in Su Yu's embrace, coldly saying, "I have my ways to convince the family to agree. As for the Yun family's crisis, you don't have to worry about it. Everyone, please leave. I won't be sending you off." Yun Yin closed her eyes, enjoying Su Yu's embrace. Even though Chun Xiang and the other two disciples of the law enforcement tribunal were unwilling, they could not do anything to the two of them and could only retreat. Li Hao's body trembled, carrying with him humiliation and anger as he left. He had spent many years to finally get his hands on Yun Yan, seeing that she could help him break through to 5th-level Holy King. But Su Yu had snatched the fruit away from him. That breakthrough to 3rd-level Holy King was the proof. What made him even more furious was that he was made a cuckold. His high-spirited life had suffered a devastating blow like never before. "Su Yu, I will never forgive you." Li Hao roared in his heart. After sending off the outsiders, Yun Yan's calm body suddenly softened, falling into Su Yu's embrace. A stream of tears rolled down her cheeks. From then on, everyone knew that she was an impure woman. Su Yu was about to console her, but Yun Yan said gently, "Su Yu, since you want to be responsible for me, can you give me a legitimate identity? I hope that you can invite an elder from the faction to verify my identity. It doesn't matter if it's an elder or a disciple, as long as it's someone you can trust." She felt conflicted, but since Su Yu had said he would take responsibility, he naturally had to fulfill his promise. After putting on his clothes, he returned to the inner sanctum, thinking about who to invite to be his witness. Suddenly, Su Yu realized something. His footsteps halted, his expression changing, and he quickly rushed back. When he returned to Yun Yan's room, the fragrance of incense floated in the air, but the place was empty. There was only a short letter left on the table. Thank you for your forgiveness. I am already satisfied. The knot in my heart is gone. Thank you for taking responsibility. But unfortunately, I am not the person you love. I cannot accept your responsibility. One night of lovemaking. Take it as my compensation for my guilt. There is no need to blame yourself. Stay with Sienna. She is the one you love. I cannot convince myself to be a bad woman between the two of you. Please forgive me for leaving without saying goodbye. Please understand that I do not have the face to meet you. Do not look for me at the Yun family. Please give me, who has lost my chastity, one last place to go. Marriage and men. I have had them all. I have no more attachments. From now on, I will stay at the family forever, crafting weapons for the clan. Finally, I wish you and Sienna happiness. Yun Yin. Su Yu was stunned. As expected, Yun Yin had sent him away to take the opportunity to leave. If she had asked him to take responsibility, even if Su Yu was unwilling, he would have taken responsibility for her. But in consideration of his relationship with Sienna, she had chosen to leave alone, to return to the family, to live the rest of her life alone. It was as if Su Yu had once again seen the kind and beautiful woman on the vast ocean island, smiling sweetly at him as she reminisced. Li Hao stumbled, his mind a mess, still immersed in the humiliation he had just experienced. Su, you! Li Hao roared, his eyes filled with hatred. You slept with my woman. I want you to die a horrible death. Everyone close to you must die. Chapter 139. 3 days later, Su Yu woke up from his secluded cultivation. After breaking through to the third-level Holy King, the limits of his physical body had been significantly improved. His physical body had become extremely strong, and normal attacks would not be able to injure him. His spiritual energy had also increased by 30%. In addition to the Sigh of Ice that he had attained stage 1 upper tier, the amount of his spiritual energy was double that of an ordinary third-level lower tier Holy King. With his cultivation stabilized, Su Yu was ready to come out of isolation. At this moment, Mo Wu, with a cold face, stuffed a letter into the secret chamber. Humph! You'd better go and take a look at your senior brother's situation. Senior brother? Su Yu was at a loss. When he opened the letter, it was a letter asking for help. The messengers were 3 juniors of the Li Guang clan, but it was Zhao Guang who had informed Su Yu to go and rescue him. On the Xinyue Island, he was tested to have a medium-grade yellow class constitution. He was brought to the Lucian faction along with Xia Jingyu, Qin Xian'er, Lu Guang, and the rest. Su Yu entered the sect in a hurry, so he did not have the chance to meet him. Who would have thought that the first news he received was that he was in danger? Although they were both disciples of Li Guang, Su Yu had only known him for a short period of time. But he was, after all, Li Guang's disciple, so you could not just stand by and watch. Otherwise, he would not be able to face Li Guang's spirit. He owed Li Guang too much. Whoosh! As the stone door opened, Su Yu disappeared. Outer Sect, External Affairs Hall. On the square outside the hall stood 2 10-meter-tall bronze pillars. One was the Pillar of Glory, engraved with the names of the disciples who had made outstanding contributions to the Outer Sect. The other was the Pillar of Humiliation. It was carved with the names of all the people in the Outer Sect who had brought shame to the sect. Their names would forever be spurned by the sect. One was an honor, one was a disgrace. It was meant to remind the Outer Sect disciples that it was an honor to contribute to the sect and a disgrace to tarnishing it. The Outer Sect disciples were reprimanded once every 3 days, instilling the concept of loyalty and honor for the sect. The Pillar of Glory and the Pillar of Shame were even more important. Respect and admiration for the names inscribed on the Pillar of Glory. The name engraved on the Pillar of Shame, disdain and self-awakening. This was especially true for the new Outer Sect disciples, who had just entered the sect and had a low sense of belonging to the sect. Therefore, the requirements for them were even stricter. Almost every day, they would stand in front of the Pillar of Glory and Pillar of Shame to receive lessons on honor and loyalty from the sect. Today's admonition ended early, but there was still a group of people surrounding the Pillar of Shame. Amidst the crowd, Zhao Guang knelt on the ground. His hair was messy and withered, and his clothes stank. His complexion was sallow and haggard. His once plump face was now shriveled and thin. At a glance, was this the high-spirited eldest senior brother of the sanctuary? He was no different from a beggar. Zhao Guang, the deadline of 3 days is up. If you do not repent sincerely, you will be punished by the sect. Behind Zhao Guang, a young man stood with his hands behind his back, his expression cold. His cultivation level had reached the terrifying 3rd-level peak Holy King. He was the famous Lin Yin of the External Affairs Division. As the deacon of the External Affairs Division, he assisted the 2 hall masters in managing the daily lives of the outer disciples. What was less known was that he had another identity, Li Hao's younger brother. He was able to enter the Lucian faction because of Li Hao, and the 2 of them had a good relationship. Zhao Guang knelt on the ground, allowing his withered hair to cover his face. He remained silent. The names engraved on the pillar of shame are those who have committed the most heinous crimes. They are the shame of the faction. The External Affairs Division admonished you and ordered you to discuss the people on the bronze pillar. Why did you not discuss them? Lin Yin spoke in a righteous tone, but deep in his eyes was a deep coldness. Zhao Guang's lips moved, and he sighed weakly. I cannot do it. Stubborn fool. I can see that you do not have a clear distinction between good and evil in your heart. Lin Yin's gaze turned cold, and he said in a low voice, I will give you 2 choices. First, discuss the name of a sinner. Second, use your blood to wash away the name of a sinner. Zhao Guang's withered face revealed a deep, bitter smile. I will not discuss. Then carry out the sect's rules. Use your blood to wash away the name of a sinner. Deep in Lin Yin's eyes, a vicious glint flashed. He suddenly struck Zhao Guang's back. How terrifying was the strike of a 3rd-level peak Holy King. Although Zhao Guang was half a Holy King, in front of Lin Yin, he was like an ant. Under the heavy blow, Zhao Guang's organs were shaken, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. The piercing red was like the glow of the setting sun, spraying onto the bronze pillar, illuminating the name of the sinner. Disgust or fresh blood? Lin Yin asked coldly again. Zhao Guang had already knelt there for 3 days and 3 nights, and was extremely weak. Enduring the intense pain in his organs, he trembled as he wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth. Zhao Guang laughed bitterly. I still cannot do it. Stubborn fool. Lin Yin's eyes flashed, and he struck. He spat out another mouthful of blood, spraying it onto the bronze pillar. This time, the clothes on Zhao Guang's back were torn, the energy penetrating his body and exiting from his chest. Anyone could see that this strike had destroyed a portion of his organs. If this continued, he would be beaten to death. I will ask again, disgust or fresh blood? Lin Yin's eyes were filled with mockery. The more stubborn Zhao Guang was, the more excuses he would have to execute him in front of everyone. This was Li Hao's order, to toy with everyone close to Su Yu to death. Zhao Guang fell to the ground after receiving this strike. Not only were his organs damaged, even his ribs were broken. He did not even have the strength to crawl back up and kneel. His shriveled head lay pitifully on the cold ground. His withered hair drooped over his head, but it could not hide the unwavering determination in his weak eyes. I cannot do it. I, Zhao Guang, will not disgust, even in death. He let out a long howl. His howl was filled with helplessness, anger, and sorrow. Lin Yin's eyes glowed, and he struck. At this moment, Zhao Guang's body had suffered an unprecedented injury. His back was a bloody mess, his flesh split open. His vision turned black, and the boundless pain caused him to fall into a semi-conscious state. The surrounding onlookers were shocked. Even in death, he could not disgust those sinners. Why was he so stubborn? Could it be that in his heart there was no distinction between good and evil? They could not understand, but they could not sympathize. Anyone with a little sense of reason had their eyes filled with disgust and coldness. Could it be that this person really has no distinction between good and evil? He refuses to discuss the name of a sinner, yet he is so stubborn? What stubbornness? He's most likely a paranoid lunatic. After all, he's from an isolated island. His way of thinking cannot be compared to the people of the mainland. That's true. This kind of person should just die. There is no distinction between good and evil in his heart, and he will definitely bring disaster to others in the future. No one sympathized or pitied him. To them, Zhao Guang's stubbornness was just disgusting bigotry. Ling Yin laughed coldly in his heart, but his face was stern and righteous. According to the rules of the sect, I will only give you 3 days to repent and 3 chances to punish you. If you continue to be stubborn, I will execute you on the spot according to the rules of the sect. Now, you only have one last chance. Disgust or die. Ling Yin shouted coldly. Zhao Guang was weak, and his vision was blurry, but his eyes were fixed on the pillar of shame, on the name of the sinner that had been washed with his blood. Her eyes were filled with tears. Her voice was trembling, filled with desolation, sadness, and sorrow. She looked up to the sky and cried, I can't do it, because that is my master's name. In the small pool of blood, the name, which had been eroded by time, was incomparably bright. The name in the middle was Li Guang. My parents gave birth to me, and my master raised me. Zhao Guang, how can I disgust him? Zhao Guang's voice was weak, but he let out a tragic cry that shook the hearts of the people. His chest was filled with the sorrow of the dead. When he was born, he had been abandoned in the forest to live with wild beasts. It was Li Guang who had picked him up. He had treated him like his own son and had guided him carefully. That was how Zhao Guang had become who he was today. To him, Li Guang was his master and a loving father. How could he disgust Li Guang? He could not do it. Even if he stained his master's name with his blood, even if he died before it, he could not do it. The entire place was dead silent. Many of those who had cold expressions froze on their faces, stunned. Those who had thought that Zhao Guang deserved to die felt as if something was stuck in their chests. An indescribable shock was transmitted to the depths of their souls. He did not want to disgust him. He would rather die than do it. The reason was his master's name was on it. Surprise, shock, and complex emotions were transmitted to everyone's hearts. It was as if they could see a disciple kneeling in front of his name for 3 days and 3 nights in gratitude for his master's kindness. At this moment, no one could speak. Their hearts were filled with shock. It turned out that 3 days ago, Zhao Guang was suddenly called out to discuss Li Guang's name. As the villain who had raped a female disciple 100 years ago, Li Guang's name was clearly on the list. In the previous admonition, Zhao Guang had already noticed the wrong Li Guang's name. He intentionally avoided Li Guang and discussed the other sinners. Only 3 days ago, Lin Yin insisted that he discussed Li Guang alone. He refused and was punished to kneel for 3 days, to repent and turn over a new leaf. But no matter how much he repented, he could not discuss Li Guang, especially when he found out that Li Guang had passed away as a disciple. Not being able to be filial to his master before his death was a regret that he could never make up for. Now, how could he discuss his name after his death? He could discuss everyone in the world, but he could not discuss Li Guang. Zhao Guang's eyes were filled with sorrow. His mouth was full of blood as he laughed bitterly. My master, Li Guang, was wronged. He is not a sinner. A solemn and stirring cry, accompanied by a helpless and bitter smile and resentment towards fate, pierced through the 9 heavens. Even if he is your master, you cannot mislead the public. His crimes have long been decided. How can a mere disciple like you distort the truth? Lin Yin shouted coldly. A murderous intent filled his eyes as a righteous tone appeared on his face. He shouted coldly. Outer disciple Zhao Guang does not differentiate between good and evil and refuses to repent despite repeated admonitions. He tried to distort the truth and overturn the reputation of a sinner. Now, as the deacon of the External Affairs Division, I will make the final decision on behalf of the sect. To prevent Zhao Guang from harming the world, he shall be executed on the spot. Lin Yin bellowed. The onlookers felt that it was inappropriate, but no one dared to question the External Affairs Division's decision. If they tried to help, they would be executed as well. Zhao Guang lay on the ground, unable to move. However, he laughed coldly. Kill him. One day, Master's name will be erased from the pillar of shame. He was wrong. His voice reverberated through the clouds, carrying Zhao Guang's final will as it pierced through the heavens. Even in death, he did not despise Li Guang. He could puff out his chest and meet his master in the underworld. Lin Yin laughed coldly in his heart. Everything was going smoother than expected. The more stubborn Zhao Guang was, the more justifiable it would be for him to kill him. Die! Lin Yin bellowed, his palm slamming down. Crack! However, at this moment, an inexplicable cold current swept through the world like a raging sea. Countless onlookers felt their bodies turn cold, as if they had entered a world of ice and snow. Not only was the temperature cold, but the terrifying murderous intent was even colder. If you kill him, your entire clan will be buried with him. The cold voice pierced through the clouds, resounding throughout the sect. It was as if a king had returned, looking down on them. Chapter 140. Lin Yin's body stiffened at the cold, authoritative voice. A wave of coldness surged into his heart for no reason, causing his entire body to feel cold. It was as if killing Zhao Guang with a palm strike would incur his wrath. With that, Lin Yin clenched his teeth, continuing his attack. Firstly, he was executing Zhao Guang in accordance with the faction's laws. If Su Yu dared to stop him, he would be going against the faction's laws. Secondly, he might not be afraid of Su Yu. In terms of abilities, he was confident he would not lose to Su Yu. Execute him according to the law. Lin Yin growled, viciously attacking. Rumble. However, just as his killing move was about to land, a palm wrapped in ice flames shot towards his head at lightning speed. There was no hesitation in the killing intent. Lin Yin's expression changed. Su Yu actually dared to kill him. Shocked and furious, Lin Yin changed his attack. The palm that was heading for Zhao Guang changed to collide with Su Yu in the nick of time. Obstructing the faction's laws, you deserve death, However, his voice stopped abruptly, and it was replaced by a strand of a miserable, shrill cry. The moment the two palms collided, an oppressive aura descended, accompanied by the devouring ice flames. His attack was like a clay ox that had entered the sea. It was so powerful that it didn't even have the strength to resist for a moment before it was easily destroyed. His opponent's palm struck his chest as though it was invincible. The violent impact was like a mountain pressing down on him, causing him to spit out a mouthful of blood. The absolute difference in abilities shocked Lin Yin. Even though he had heard that Su Yu had defeated Chao Xian, whose cultivation level was suppressed to second-level peak Holy King, who would have known that Su Yu was so powerful with just his spirit energy. Thud, thud, thud. He took a few steps back, blood filling his mouth. Su Yu, you dare obstruct me from executing the law and even injure me in front of everyone? Do you know that you have violated the faction's laws? Whoosh, a purple robe, a head of silver hair, a pair of icy divine wings. Who else could it be but Su Yu? Law. When harming others, it is your weapon. When in danger, it is your shield. Such an unfair law. I don't care about it. Su Yu let out a cold grunt, his icy divine wings flapping. Whoosh. Only an afterimage was left, followed by Lin Yin's pathetic cry. He did not even have time to react before Su Yu's palm landed on his chest. His clothes were torn apart, and his flesh was badly mangled. His ribs and internal organs were trembling. Lin Yin's body was sent flying, and fresh blood spurted out of her mouth like a curtain of blood. How dare you defy the sect's rules? However, his voice came to an abrupt halt once more. Puff! As he was flying backward, he once again suffered a heavy palm from Su Yu. This palm strike was filled with terrifying spiritual qi. It penetrated through his body, piercing through his chest, and exiting through his back. His internal organs ruptured, and his ribs snapped. Shrill screams, like pigs being slaughtered, soared into the sky. Bang! Smashing heavily onto the ground. Lin Yin howled in agony as his mouth was filled with blood. Everyone was shocked. The legendary king of the Fallen Star realm had arrived, and without saying a word, he had beaten Lin Yin, a steward of the fallen star realm, half to death. Recalling the rumors of Su Yu crushing Chao Xian, the surrounding outer sanctum disciples were in awe. As a rookie, Su Yu was too ferocious. The eyes of many outer disciples were filled with excitement. Su Yu had long been the goal of the outer sanctum disciples. The battle that defied the heavens during the Fallen Star competition seemed to have happened just yesterday, and it was still vivid in their minds, causing the blood in their bodies to boil unusually. Whoosh! Su Yu appeared, coldly staring at the howling Lin Yin. These 3 palms were for senior brother. Now scram. Lin Yin endured the intense pain as he struggled to get up, his eyes filled with fear. Su Yu's attitude of defying the sect's rules, like a fierce god, had deeply impacted him. Su Yu was 10 times more terrifying than the rumors. However, at this moment, a cold grunt could be heard. How arrogant! You dare cause trouble at the External Affairs Division after entering the inner sanctum. Whoosh! A middle-aged man with a cold expression walked out with his hands behind his back. His aura was powerful and complete, thick and solid. He had reached 4th level lower tier Holy King. This person was the Deputy Clan Master of the External Affairs Division, Qin Gang. At the same time, he was Shi Ruolin's confidant. Don't you need to cultivate? Qin Gang looked around coldly. Everyone who was swept by his gaze shuddered, their hearts thumping wildly. The crowd kept quiet out of fear, their faces filled with respect as they lowered their heads and retreated. In the blink of an eye, the area was empty. Immediately, Qin Gang scolded, Su Yu, as an inner sanctum disciple, you should do your duty and uphold the rules of the faction. You trespassed on the execution grounds and disrupted the rules. What punishment do you deserve? The rules? Deputy Clan Master Qin, please tell me. He insisted that senior brother disrespect the name of the master to complete the impossible and kill him. Is that also within the rules? So you pointed at Lin Yin from afar, coldly shouting. Lin Yin opened his mouth to retort. Nonsense. I acted impartially, but he quickly shut his mouth, because Su Yu had shot him a thick killing intent. It was true killing intent. As guilty as Lin Yin was, he did not dare talk back. Qin Gang's eyes glinted even more fiercely. Su Yu, don't try to win with your words. Lin Yin is an upright person with a heart of justice. Why would he kill someone? You are clearly the one who is twisting words and forcing logic. An obscure killing intent flashed in Qin Gang's eyes. An upright person with a heart of justice? Su Yu silently closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his gaze was clear and calm, his lips forming a mocking smile. To think that someone as foolish as me would reason with you. To you, fists and abilities are the true reason. Qin Gang protecting Lin Yin was obvious. Furthermore, he was Shi Ruolin's confidant. He would not be fair to Su Yu. Why? You want to beat up the clan master of the External Affairs Division? Qin Gang's lips formed a cold smile. Due to the second elder backing Su Yu, Qin Gang could not teach Su Yu a lesson. But if Su Yu did not know what was good for him and took the initiative to challenge Qin Gang, then he could justifiably treat Su Yu as Wu Ni's disciple and kill him in front of everyone. This way, Clan Master Shi, Elder Han, and Chao Xian could all heave a sigh of relief. Su Yu had delivered himself to their doorstep. Fight? No. Su Yu shook his head calmly. I am only seeking justice for Senior Zhao for the unfair treatment he received. Qin Gang let out a cold laugh. Who gave you the right to seek justice for me? The right is not granted by others. It is earned by yourself. Su Yu's eyes glowed, the icy divine wings unfurling behind him. A battle intent that could erupt at any moment filled the space between the two of them. A formless energy wave collided, stirring up a cloud of dust. Sand and pebbles flew, smoke and dust filled the air. A terrifying aura clashed between the two of them. Lin Yin, who was at the side, was shocked. Just the battle intent can cause a ripple of spirit energy? Qin Gang is indeed powerful. The news of someone provoking the External Affairs Division quickly spread as the spectators retreated. Whoosh, whoosh, several figures descended, and Mo Wu was among them. Apart from them, there are also a few patrolling law enforcement tribunal disciples, including Wang Xinxue. In the blink of an eye, the stars scattered and numerous people descended. Mo Wu could not help but be angry as she descended, causing trouble everywhere. How long has it been to provoke Qin Gang? Despite her complaints, her beautiful eyes were filled with worry. Su Yu has provoked the wrong person this time. Wang Xinxue sprinted over, realizing that it was Su Yu. His face was filled with respect and joy. I can finally witness your battle. But when he saw his opponent clearly, Wang Xinxue gasped. Angry Vajra Buddha. Qin Gang? Su Yu. How did he provoke him? His expression was ugly, filled with anxiety. He was deeply worried for Su Yu. Whoosh! Clenching his teeth, Wang Xinxue wanted to charge forward. But he was stopped by the sneering Lin Yan. This is a challenge from the External Affairs Division. Why are you challenging the Law Enforcement Tribunal? Move aside. You are bullying Su Yu for being a newcomer and not knowing Qin Gang's background. This battle is unfair. Wang Xinxue was furious. Lin Yan grunted. That has nothing to do with you. Back down, unless you want to sow discord between the two divisions. You are too much. Wang Xinxue was both shocked and furious. But Lin Yan's words forced him to be cautious. The Law Enforcement Tribunal could not interfere in the affairs of the External Affairs Division. He could only send Su Yu anxious glances, hoping that he would notice. It was not that he did not believe in Su Yu's abilities, but Qin Gang was too powerful. His cultivation level was only a facade. His true abilities were reflected in his physical body. When Qin Gang was young, he had swallowed a treasure, causing his physical body to undergo a transformation. His physique was incredibly strong. Even though he was a 4th level lower tier Holy King, even a 4th level upper tier Holy King would find it difficult to deal with him. His abilities could not be compared to Chao Xian, who had suppressed his cultivation level. In that battle, Su Yu had defeated Chao Xian in 3 moves. But if it had been Qin Gang, he would not have needed 3 moves. 1 move would have been enough to severely injure Chao Xian. Su Yu's current abilities could not match up to Qin Gang. Qin Gang got into an attacking stance, his lips curving into a mocking smile. Lad, I have to tell you regretfully that you have found the wrong person to challenge me. With a low grunt, Qin Gang's clothes were torn apart, revealing a body made of copper and steel. His muscles were like chiseled stone, hard and filled with explosive power. Bolts of aura that far exceeded that of a normal living being slowly dispersed, causing one to feel a chill down one's spine. Su Yu's eyelids twitched. He could sense that the person in front of him was not a human, but a primordial beast. What a strong physique. It was even stronger than Chao Xian's Dragon Realm physique. It was no wonder that a mere 4th level lower tier Holy King had the right to be the deputy clan master. It was not that there were no powerful fighters in the faction with a higher cultivation level than him, but he was the only one chosen to oversee the External Affairs Division. A huge pressure bore down on Su Yu like a mountain. Challenging me was your biggest mistake. Qin Gang let out a cold laugh. Victory was within his grasp. With a low grunt, the muscles on Qin Gang's body wriggled like a beating heart, emitting a frightening physical strength. A layer of faint red light encircled the surface of his body. It looked like a layer of blood-red membrane. This was the power of the Dragon Realm physique, blood energy. When the physiological limit was raised to a certain level, the blood energy would undergo a qualitative change, reaching the point where it could manifest outside the body. The blood-red membrane was the symbol. Thump, thump. Qin Gang's muscular right leg bounced back to the ground. His body was like a spring. With a flickering speed, he turned into a blurry red residual shadow and headed straight for Su Yu. Furious dragon roar. With a low grunt, Qin Gang extended his right fist. Wrapped in a terrifying blood energy, it was like a red dragon that could destroy the world, bringing with it a destructive power as it roared. In that instant, Su Yu felt as if he was being shrouded by a mountain, causing his breathing to stagnate. But his gaze was calm, the 3-foot ice flame on his body shooting toward the sky, burning toward Qin Gang. How cold was a cold energy so cold that it could condense into raging flames. Even someone as strong as Chao Xian had his body invaded the moment he came into contact with it, his life force devoured. However, Qin Gang sneered. You won't understand how strong my physique is. Creak! A shocking scene appeared. Qin Gang grabbed with his hand, extinguishing the ice flame that was surging toward him. A ball of faint ice turned into ice shards, scattering in his palm.